At Swing Away Golf Club, the experience is built for golfers and everyone who comes with them. Experience North America's only mechanically actuated virtual green with ball tracking by PuttView, paired with Full Swing Pro 2.0 simulators trusted by Tiger Woods and John Ram. Every swing is captured, every shot is real, and every putt reacts exactly like it would on the course. Serious golfers can dial in their game with tour-level feedback and unmatched realism. And for friends and family, Swing Away offers a comfortable, welcoming space with great food, a full-service bar, and fun, interactive experiences that make it easy for anyone to just jump in and enjoy the moment. Play iconic courses from around the world, share the experience together, and enjoy a place where competition, connection, and atmosphere all come together. Swing Away Golf Club. Practice, play, win.
Something that's not talked about enough in the industry is
you get burned out.
You're pretty screwed up individual that is unbelievably buttoned up and put together.
That was something that happened to me.
We are all human beings.
I actually have a chance now to understand how to be a better parent.
You don't have to talk to a person to get your whole job site off the ground and going.
My daughter, she can sniff out the AI instantly.
They're not your country.
I told Anna, I was like, we're going to see real quick who runs a good restaurant.
Doesn't matter if it's golf or cooking, you will get results when you love what you do.
Thank you first so much for being here, Elliott. We truly appreciate it. We're going to jump right into these questions. Again, this is live on the Clubhouse with Charlie Bolak. What do you think separates the good from the great as far as territory reps?
I think some of the biggest things that differentiate, and it applies to almost anything in life, is your complete commitment. You know, there's a famous phrase, love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. And I watch people where they take on a little bit too much grind. They don't have the right leadership. They don't have the right environment. And the second they become disengaged, it diminishes pretty quick and they're putting in a minimal amount of effort. They're either putting it in psychologically or they're starting at 9 and ending at 2 with a 2-hour lunch in between. And all of a sudden their results aren't there. And rather than realize that they're not into it, they blame their company, they blame their customers, they blame the market. I have watched, we've all seen, when you play all out, doesn't matter if it's golf or cooking, you will get results when you love what you do.
You mentioned early in that answer, you know, they start out strong and then it kind of weans over time. From a leadership standpoint, how do we keep top talent engaged while we're going through that type of growth? Because that was something that happened to me. And I've talked about it on the show before. It is, you know, there's only so many times you can go down before you start wondering, hey, how am I going to continue to get the result?
Another phenomenal question. For me, I'm a big one. Leadership, we all have things that we got to measure. And it blows my mind how many leaders go out and they're like, look, you have to do 15 calls a day. You have to close X number of deals. You have to do this. You have to do that. And the problem that ends up happening is we're so worried about the score that we don't gamify it. Now, if we're talking golf, or if we're talking running a kitchen, or if we're talking real estate, gamify the process. And what I mean by gamification is put games out to your team. Hey, the person who creates the best, the sales rep who opens the most unique account. You know, I had accounts that I opened and I'd be out and I'd be like, you know what? I really want to see if I could open this unique account. I opened Coors Brewery. I wanted to open up these really unique accounts because it keeps you engaged as a person. And I think that a lot of sales management, they're so worried about developing a process that it actually burns people out. I mean, if you go out and you say, look, I'm going to play the same golf course every single week, you get burned out. If you make the same meal every week or do the same real estate deal every week, you get burned out. The second you sit down and say, hey, I need a little variety, I need a little creativity, no matter how big or small it is, we are all human beings and we need to be gamified, we need to be stimulated, and we need to be engaged. And I think many leaders, they focus so much on the processes and procedures that it loses the gamification and the creativity and fun. And then quickly your sales reps become disengaged. They are not robots. We are all human beings. Like, when was the last time you did something fun like role play in your sales meeting? When was the last time you went and played a round of putt-putt golf? You know what I mean? Like those things are the stuff where you're like, oh my gosh, but it makes you realize the joy of the games that we all play every day.
Brandon, to go deeper in that, you and I have discussed, I think on the show before, burnout. That's a hazard in any industry, not just heavy equipment. So have you seen that on some of your side, Brandon?
People that don't burn out kind of wear it as a badge of honor that you didn't burn out, but I don't think that's a good thing. I was definitely one of those guys that, I'll just show you how hard I can go, how hard I can grind. You give up a lot of things, you lose a lot of things, and then later in life, when you get older, you start realizing how stupid that was, how unfulfilling that was. And it's just one of those things that honestly you just didn't know any better. In the restaurant business, we were almost brainwashed to think that was what was expected of us.
Yeah.
60, 70-hour week, 6 days a week, never going home for the holidays, no weekends off. So burnout was really big in that industry. I've only been in it for a couple of years. I'm sure there's some burnout effect to it, especially when you start getting into the higher level. You start dealing with the Targets or the IKEAs of the world, that there's so much more pressure going into that. Those deal cycles are years and years long. I can see that burnout happen there. I think deal fatigue is probably the bigger thing that hits people in the real estate world, on the commercial side, of just deal cycles. I hear it all the time. I do leasing, I do sales, I do a lot of restaurant work just because of obviously my background. But the old guys are like, man, used to be able to turn leases over in, a month, maybe 2 months tops. Now they're taking 6 months, right? And for me, being new in it for 2 years, I don't know the difference, right? So I had to adjust to the deal cycle and just understand it. But even in my 2 years or right under 2 years, there are moments where I'm feeling that deal fatigue, just because it's just like, you feel like you got so much in your pipeline. You feel like you got all these things that you're supposed to do, but you just can't close it, right? And at the end of the day, if you're a 100% commissioned guy or girl, if you're not closing, it doesn't matter what you got in your pipeline, because the bill's got to be paid. I got 4 little kids and a wife, a mortgage. I got about $10,000 worth of bills I got to handle every month for private school and everything else. It's like, yeah, I'm still happy I have 50 deals in the pipeline, but if I'm not closing any of them, it might as well be zero.
Something that's not talked about enough in the industry is, mental health and how burnout can affect your mental health and how it can lead to tragic outcomes. I mean, not necessarily physically tragic, but career tragic, career suiciditis, I call it. Sometimes we get a little bit of a burr under our saddle and make poor choices. I had a customer here at Swingaway Golf Club the other day ask me, he's like, man, I can tell you're stressed. How's your mental health? And for somebody that I considered a friend to ask about, that's not something guys really do and this is a D1 athlete, right? I mean, I didn't expect it. I was taken aback, and it really caused me to reflect a little bit on how everything's going. But if we're not having these conversations, we're doing everybody a disservice, because it starts somewhere and then it circulates.
Absolutely. I will tell you, one of the weirdest things, I get the pleasure of connecting with a lot of different people. Thank you once again for the podcast today. Really unique people all over the world. And I get hundreds of messages a week, either directly through me or through my LinkedIn. And there has been a pattern that has been arising. I actually have people I got to follow up with today, and the mental health, the burnout, the stress, and I will tell you, I've been thinking a lot about it. And I think it's 2 things. Number one is, and Brandon alluded to it, you have to make time for yourself. You have to sit down, and I will tell you, I actually think that the phones, I realized that the TikTok, the streaming, the Instagram, the Pinterest, all that stuff, is that I watch people, and instead of sitting and having conversations that fill up their cup, or investing in themselves, or sitting out and enjoying a nice day at the park, they literally, the second they have 5 minutes free, we used to go and sit and let our brain relax, let our bodies relax. And you watch people, the second they sit down, and it's like, boop.
Yeah.
And I realized that it's not physical fatigue, it is mental fatigue, because we are filling every minute of our day with a stream of information, and we're never allowing our brain to think for itself. We're never allowing our brain to relax. We don't need to analyze stuff every minute. And I actually think the biggest fatigue causer right now is not taking an adequate amount of time away from the daily grind, your phone, your TV, your stress, and just sitting down and mentally relaxing.
To that point, about a little over a year ago, I deleted all my social media, right? Like, and I just decided, I never was a big social media guy. I had it because in the restaurant world, you gotta sell money. As a chef, you want to be putting your food out there and try to get people's attention. But for me, it was this moment I'll never forget. I'm sitting there on the couch watching TV, long day, and all of a sudden I started realizing I'm scrolling through during the commercial breaks. What the F is that, right? I mean, it literally was a moment that was very just poignant to me of like, this is ridiculous. Like, I can't handle a commercial break. I need to be stimulated this much that I need to do that. And in that moment, I deleted them all, right? I deleted them all off my phone. I still have an Instagram that is not on my phone. And it's funny, I get people all the time texting me, dude, you didn't look at the story. I'm like, yeah, I don't look at any of that. And I will tell you this, over freaking night, it was amazing how much more, like, I don't care, honestly, and this is maybe a little cold to people, and I apologize if I'm stepping on some people's feet here, but like, I don't care what you got going on in your life. If I know you, I'll know what's going on in your life. If we're friends, we'll talk, we'll connect. I'm a 10Xer, right? So it's like, I'm a latchkey kid. I grew up in those conversations in the neighborhood and seeing your friends and looking forward to spending that FaceTime with each other. And I think
Absolutely.
All of us in sales, most of us would probably say we're good salespeople because we get that FaceTime, right? We're selling a meeting. If I can get the meeting, I know I got a much higher way of closing you, right? It's not that now I got AI, I can send you a million cold emails out there. That doesn't really matter. What I'm trying to get is one-on-one time with you, take my personality and who I am and try to make you want to do business with me, right? And you want to build trust-based relationships with people, and you can't build that on screen. You got to be able to have that face-to-face interaction, that human, I want to smell if your breath is bad, right? Like, I want to be in that situation to where, and I know we're on a podcast and we're all on screens, but, that real human interaction and laughter and high five and just, we're human beings. We're built for that. We're made to do that. In a world where, we're more connected than we ever have been, suicide rates and depression are higher than they've ever been. What's wrong here, right? Like put the phones down and let's have real human interaction and be people. I think that's what's lost in that aspect of it.
You absolutely nailed it.
It's funny, mental health is something like you touched earlier on, Charlie, like guys don't really talk about, right? And funny enough, and I'm secure enough in myself, I had my first individual counseling session yesterday. It was great. I loved it. Never really thought about doing it, but I did it. The funniest thing ever is my guy is like, wow, you're really high functioning to be, not to get into my story of my life, but my mother died when I was 3. My dad was married 8 times. There was my father was a great man. I loved him. But there was a lot of things in my life that I guess now I understand maybe was classified as traumas. I just compartmentalized things to keep moving. And honestly, for me, it was like, I don't have time for that, which he found, concerning, right? And it was funny, we get through it all, and to kind of sum it up is like, you're pretty screwed up individual that is unbelievably buttoned up and put together, and it's impressive. I was like, yeah, dude, look, I know I'm screwed up. I understand. I just don't want to talk about it, and I don't need to talk about it, right? Like, I don't need to put a short out talking about my mental health, and not to say that that's a bad thing, but like, I don't have time for that. I got 4 kids. I have 6 restaurants. I got 15 million clients wanting to do stuff with me. Like, and I think, again, in that kind of same vein of what I'm saying, like, I need to make time for that Because at some point it's going to manifest, right? At some point, something's going to happen that you don't even know what's going to come from those traumas because you never addressed them, right? You know, and again, I made my reference to being a Gen Xer. We grew up and you just stuff that shit down, right? Like, you don't talk about it, you don't bring it up, and everything's all hunky-dory and fine. And, you know, quite honestly, 47 years, that's how I've lived my life. You know, just recently, you know, I went through this. I called my sister and was like laughing, like told her kind of what I told you. She's like, yeah, we were some flashy kids. We were screwed up. We just don't talk about it. And, but I also tell her how refreshing and freeing it felt. How I look forward to going back. I want to understand more about it. I have no shame about it. I don't feel weird about it. It actually kind of is like, I'm at a point now in my life where self-reflection, you know, for the young people out there, you do get to an age where you start realizing, you know, you're on the downside, right? And you want legacy. You want your life to mean something. If you're a parent, you really want to not screw your kids up, right? I mean, I think a lot of big part of being a good parent is not creating assholes, right? Not creating bad people in the world, and also understanding that you can screw your kids up if you're not doing the right things, you know? And so for me, that self-reflection point is, wow, like I actually have a chance now to understand how to be a better parent, to be a better father, to just be a better human being in the world, right? And understanding that that's okay if I don't know how to do it. There wasn't a handbook or a manual to how to be this. You just, you know, depending on how you are or what you were taught, you kind of just are reflections of that, right? So I think mental health is unbelievably important in everybody's life, and it needs to be taken seriously. And the funny part is this 22-year-old me would probably call me a snowflake and kick me in the face, but 47-year-old me is like, damn right, man. Like, you should be proud of
The key takeaway is that now it's becoming more socially acceptable to actually talk about it. It's not the stuff it, and going about your life. And I think that's going to benefit a lot of people. I know it's going to benefit me. Absolutely. Great point.
Great golf brings people together. At Swing Away Golf Club, the experience is built for golfers and everyone who comes with them. Experience North America's only mechanically actuated virtual green with ball tracking by PuttView, paired with Full Swing Pro 2.0 simulators trusted by Tiger Woods and John Ram. Every swing is captured, every shot is real, and every putt reacts exactly like it would on the course. Serious golfers can dial in their game with tour-level feedback and unmatched realism. And for friends and family, Swing Away offers a comfortable, welcoming space with great food, a full-service bar, and fun, interactive experiences that make it easy for anyone to just jump in and enjoy the moment. Play iconic courses from around the world, share the experience together, and enjoy a place where competition, connection, and atmosphere all come together. Swing Away Golf Club. Practice, play, win.
So Elliott, let's get into this AI thing and how it's affecting sales. Brandon mentioned a minute ago, you can build prospect lists. You can give these things search parameters, and it can turn up every customer that could possibly be a customer in 4,000 miles in 18 seconds. It's amazing. It's going to revolutionize. But the people who are going to feel the best results are the people who use it best out of the gate.
And it's funny because you mentioned people who use it best out of the gate. The one thing that most people don't realize, ChatGPT was released November of 2022. In case we're doing the math, that's almost 4 years ago. So it's funny to me as people are like, oh, I want to get ahead of the AI. I hate to say it, but you're already 4 years late.
Exactly right.
So now the biggest thing is if you're not catching up to at least be even, you're getting left behind, and you're getting left behind hard. I think the biggest thing right now that people need to realize, utilize, understand is the industry as a whole is going so fast. The smart people understand what mundane tasks, like Charlie mentioned, like you mentioned, researching what are the closest accounts in your area. What are the biggest opportunities in your area? Absolutely, yes. Back in the day, if you rewind, there used to be a blue book. If you rewind after the blue book, you had to go Google it. Then you have to, go out and visit job sites. There's all these things where you have to find out who the biggest players are. Now that AI handles all that stuff, it does not change the fact. It speeded up the process. It didn't change the process. You still need to follow up with those leads. Charlie said it perfectly. You need to go out and people buy from people, and you have to know how to build the trust factor. And I will tell you right now, AI is actually making the trust factor even bigger. And here's why I say that. My daughter, Charlie mentioned he has kids. We have kids. When you sit there and you look at it, my daughter will look at stuff in her internet feed. She'll look at stuff that she sees on social media, and she can sniff out the AI and the fake instantly. And it immediately, like, it'll be a picture of a coffee cup. It'll be a picture of something being poured, and it isn't even overdone. And her eyes pick up those false images so quickly. And it's interesting because it actually turns her off. Like, she's like, oh, Dad, that's AI. Oh, Dad, that's AI.
Yeah.
And for lack of a better term, is it's like saying, oh, it's a Muppet. It's fake. And when people already watching my daughter, when I see her sales or quote buying style, is she sniffs out fakeness and doesn't like it, it tells me authenticity, genuine connection, and truth have become the hot commodities because you see so many lies.
Yeah.
You actually want truth and authenticity more than ever. And I think it's going to become the big leverage in sales. Everybody's going to know how to use AI. Everybody's going to know how to make artificial images. Everybody's going to know how to draft up a perfect email because AI did it. The question is do you know how? Have you learned how to have a great, authentic, genuine conversation where someone says, I trust you?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you've nailed it right on the head. I mean, it's really about, okay, reports that might have taken me weeks to create now can happen in 18 seconds. So that means I have more time to prospect. I have more time to set meetings. I have more time to build that one-on-one trust relationships, right? That I'm not spending a week at a time on a project and something that I have to do. So if you look at it a way to accelerate your business in the proper way, and exactly what you said, focus on those human interaction skills, I think that's where it's really dangerous in a very positive way, right? The go-getters, the grinders, the people that, don't look at it as a way to do less work. Actually, I'm looking at it as a way to create way more work for me, just more efficient. And I think that's the key to AI in my eyes. It's not Google, right? Like, if you're using AI to look up a question and answer, you're so far behind. 4 years is a long time. AI is teaching the next version of AI, which just means exponentially faster. It's learning, it's growing, it's getting better. So, I mean, I can remember in the beginning of this almost 4 years ago, it was almost kind of weird to use AI. Like, what do you mean you're using AI? Like, that's kind of, Skynet, right? Like, we're thinking about the Terminator days. And it's like, no, I mean, it's a tool, right? And when you were a horse and buggy, a gas combustible engine felt weird, right? Well, you have to adapt, you have to grow with these things, and technology pushes us. Now we're just in this unbelievable race that's happening. And if you aren't getting on this, you're going to be left behind so quickly. Absolutely. That your jobs they won't exist, right? You have to adapt to everything around you and know how to use the tools to the best of your ability.
Elliott, to kind of play devil's advocate here, as we see the next generation, the younger and younger guys get into that ordering decision maker position, what kind of trends are you seeing on those guys making their choice purely offline? I mean, I know Equipment Share, some of the big guys, you don't have to talk to a person to get your whole job site off the ground and going. Are you seeing the younger generation liking that, or are they still kind of afraid of that?
I'm going to play this two twists because I'm going to include each one of you. Knowing Brandon's background as a chef, knowing your background in golf, and knowing my background in sales, here's the biggest thing I'll tell you. I can go and play a golf simulator. It doesn't beat walking the course. I can go out and I can do Uber Eats. It doesn't beat a dining experience. I can go out and I can say, look, I've watched companies where they're like, look, we're going to go online. We're going to order up all of our equipment. Outstanding. Go do it. And then you open up the package and you realize it's not what I wanted. Right now, more than ever, talking about the golf course, talking about being a chef or in real estate, or speaking about how I work in sales, every one of us wants, and it's the biggest thing, we want a personal concierge and a slash coach advisor. If you look, when you go onto Amazon, you're right. What are the ratings for that product? Why do you care about the ratings? Well, because I want a coach and advisor. Guess who that coach and advisor is? You have no idea. Are they an industry expert? Why am I taking restaurant advice from a 22-year-old who barely knows how to scramble eggs? I'll tell you who I want to take advice from when I go out to dinner, an executive chef like Brandon. When I go play a golf course, I don't want to have somebody where here's like, oh, well, it plays really good on a simulator. That doesn't mean a damn thing. Go to the golf course, and I want to play with somebody who's played the golf courses. I want to meet up. I want to be with people who know it, experience it, and are going to engage me. And I think to your thing, to the point that you made of, will everybody be buying online? We will always find people that want the ease of buying online. Every person here, doesn't matter who's listening to this call, we've all gotten burned buying something online. Your Uber Eats showed up and it was tossed. It was all upside down. It looked terrible. You go out and you say, hey, this golf course was really highly rated, and you find out it's a par 3. You go out and you rent a piece of equipment, and the company that sends it out was the cheapest company, and you realize it was a low quality piece of equipment that was not well maintained. Every single one of those affects the overall experience that customer has. And I really don't think that AI is going to replace it. And I actually think it will have people where they will realize the value of a great interaction, because they're going to start trusting people that have the experience. It's not going to just be ratings. It's going to be someone you trust.
I couldn't agree more. I've met some people from the Chick-fil-A company, and we were talking about all the different nuances of restaurants. And a hot topic is, inflation, raising prices, right? Like the cost of food goes up constantly. Margins already razor thin. What happens, especially in the local mom and pops, right? Like they're scared to raise their prices. So they just keep cutting their margin and their margin and the margin. And the next thing you know, you got loss leaders, right? And, one or two are okay if they bring the crowds in that are spending the money on everything else. But at the end of the day, if you got a menu full of loss leaders, you're going to close very quickly, right? So something that I remember CEO of Chick-fil-A saying to me that stuck with me to the core: if they're complaining about your prices and they're not coming in, two things are happening. One, your user experience or diner experience is not what it needs to be. Or two, they're not your customer, right? I mean, if what I'm selling you in the real estate world, right? Like I'm sure there's a way, Zillow and all that, you can buy houses and all those things on there. And luckily I'm not in the housing world, I'm in the commercial side. But like, if you don't want to meet and look at the space and allow me to talk to you about what it is, understand what we're talking about, you're not my customer. And go do what you need to do online and do all those things, and that's fine. And there's a world for that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in what I do, I facilitate an experience, and I handle whether I'm tenant repping or if I'm landlord repping. I'm working for somebody there, and I'm doing the work, and I'm creating an experience, right? I mean, I can go, imagine, hey, here's this, I don't even know how big of a space it is. Couldn't even tell you how much it is. You ready to sign a lease? Of course not. You have to be able to articulate what's going on here. You need to know what their need is, right? Which involves questions, discovery questions, and making not feel like a robot interacting with people. And in real estate, we really talk a lot about, we are working in a way of trust-based long-term relationships, right? I'm not trying to sell you a piece of property or lease something to you or for you with the idea that I'm never going to see you again. I want to perform, right? I want the experience to be as painless as possible. I want you to feel great about what's going on. And we all agree, I think, in a transaction, if both sides feel like they won and both sides feel like they had to compromise something there, then that's a successful deal, right? So the power of somebody like me in that world is to try to get to that deal every single time.
It sounds like the answer is, in person, you bring value. Where is the perceived value online? Is that would you agree, Elliott?
Absolutely. I think the interesting thing that'll end up happening, which they've already done studies on this, is they've looked at it and they've proven. They actually did a study with children, small children, and they took photographs of people's faces and they had different emotions on them. And they showed these images to children, and they realized now that generations have gone by, children have less understanding of all of the different emotions. And there's happy, there's sad, there's a couple of different emotions, but there's not the same gamut of depressed, frustrated, angry, confused. They're just looped into mad. And as these changes have come around, I actually think when someone can go out and make those personal connections, it will enlighten people that they're actually seeing more emotions. And I'm going to tell you one of the biggest phrases, and we all know this: emotion causes motion. If you're really passionate about something, you would be amazed how easy it transfers to somebody else. If you walk into a restaurant, if you walk onto a golf course and somebody's like, oh my gosh, you're going to love the ninth hole. That person rolls up to the ninth hole and they look at it differently. Oh my gosh, the lamb chops tonight with the jam. Oh my Lord. And all of a sudden that person's like, wait, what? Yeah, I found this real estate piece of property. You must see it. And immediately somebody's saying that transfer of enthusiasm is where sales are made. And it'll become a hotter commodity as time goes by.
I think it's a skill that's not really inherently taught. I think a lot of times energy is something that you either have or you don't have. And I'm not saying it can't be learned, but when you learn something like that and you don't learn it in a way that isn't authentic, then it feels like that fake cup, that fake pour, like to the point of what you were talking about your daughter. I mean, I am naturally a very high energy guy. I have been told so many times, why are you so happy? My response is, why aren't you? Right? I mean, I woke up this morning, I got air in my lungs, the sun rose. I get to live another great day on this earth. Like, why aren't you happy? And I'm infectious that way, right? I mean, I'm an energy guy, I'm a culture guy, and I believe in coming into my office with my restaurants back in the day, and I say good morning to everybody. We're knuckling, we're high-fiving. How was your day? Great, great, great. What's going on? How's your family? Tell me about all these things. I'm a big believer in manifesting positive things in your life. If you think you can do something long enough and you put yourself in positions to do that, you can do it. I mean,
Amen.
I used to get the question all the time in the restaurant world, especially from the younger cooks, right? Like, Chuck, how did you get here? How did you get from being a biscuit maker at Hardee's when you were 15 years old to owning 6 restaurants, to being an executive chef, to working in all of these great restaurants? And quite frankly, my parents told me I could be anything when I was a kid, and I believed them.
That's right.
I just put my mind to it and said, okay, it's all problem solving, right? Like, I mean, I literally at 46 years old, I decided to sell everything and get into real estate. That's crazy. With 4 kids, a wife, all the mortgage, everything I have, everybody I knew was like, dude, you are nuts. But every one of them also who knew me said, anybody can do it, you can do it. And for me, it's just a problem solving thing, right? Like, it wasn't like I woke up one day and said, all right, I quit, I'm gone. It was a 2-year process, right? I decided 2 years before I was going to do it. What are the steps to get there? Because at the end of the day, that's all it is. A system is really just writing down what you do every day that you're not even aware of, right? When people get paralyzed in the fact that I got to create a system, you already have a system. You just didn't write it down. So to the point of, you open the door, right? You come in, what's the first thing you do in your building? I cut the lights on. I go over here and I do this. If I'm in the kitchen, I cut the hood on, I cut the ovens on it. That's the process. Just put it in paper now, right? So for me, the way my brain thinks is, okay, I'm going to get into real estate. But what do I have to do? First thing you got to do is you got to take a 60-hour course and you got to pass the test. Okay, well, where do I get the course from? How do I start studying? Let me just start. 60 hours is going to happen whether I take this course or not. So let's go ahead and do it, right? So you knock that out, you take it, then you start lining up interviews. You interview, you find the place you want to be. You get in, you find somebody that's smarter than you, that's been there longer. You make sure to be personable enough to get them to like you, to want to train you. And then you learn and you ask as many questions as possible. Be the F and G, right? The F and new guy. That's what it stands for in the restaurant world. Anthony Bourdain
Same thing every other restaurant. Yep.
In Kitchen Confidential. So, it's always been that thing of like, you only have a finite time to be that person, right? Because at some point, if you're here 10 years, you ask the same questions, maybe this isn't for you, or maybe I don't have the patience to help you. So utilize that time, make your procedures, figure out what it is from A to B to C to F. How do I become this? And then just go do it. And that's just how I think about life. And now I'm on the cusp of being, considered a successful broker and doing the things that I'm doing. And it's really the same way as one of the restaurant business. I put my head down, I busted my butt, I showed up, I was dependable, I was reliable. I didn't, I partied with the best of them, but you know what? I'd leave the bar and go to sleep in the parking lot because I wasn't going to be late for work. I need to be there. And I think dependability is a huge part.
If you want to learn how to fly, you better jump out of the nest. I watch way too many people where they play safe. They take a job where somebody else controls their destiny and controls their success. Mad respect to both of you guys. I'm going to tell you right now, you got to jump out of the nest. You can spend your entire career, you can spend your entire life playing soft and playing easy. There's a lot of people that do that. The rewards go to those who are willing to take risks and play hard.
Great golf brings people together. At Swing Away Golf Club, the experience is built for golfers and everyone who comes with them. Experience North America's only mechanically actuated virtual green with ball tracking by PuttView, paired with Full Swing Pro 2.0 simulators trusted by Tiger Woods and John Ram. Every swing is captured, every shot is real, and every putt reacts exactly like it would on the course. Serious golfers can dial in their game with tour-level feedback and unmatched realism. And for friends and family, Swing Away offers a comfortable, welcoming space with great food, a full-service bar, and fun, interactive experiences that make it easy for anyone to just jump in and enjoy the moment. Play iconic courses from around the world, share the experience together, and enjoy a place where competition, connection, and atmosphere all come together. Swing Away Golf Club. Practice, play, win.
We sold the boat a while ago, so that, I had been growing my toys to a collection over the years, so now we're kind of narrowing it. But I was talking to my middle son, Teddy, who was a little bummed about all of it. And I said, look, our toys do tend to get a little bit nicer. Now I've got Swing Away Golf Club, although it's a business, not a toy. It's still, I get to play a lot of golf and meet a lot of cool people. So it's still, in my opinion, falls under that category of a big boy toy, even though we intend to attempt to make some money out of it one of these days, hopefully. So Elliott, let's get into this AI thing and how it's affecting sales. Brandon mentioned a minute ago, you can build prospect lists. You can give these things search parameters, and it can turn up every customer that could possibly be a customer in 4,000 miles in 18 seconds. It's amazing. It's going to revolutionize, but the people who are going to feel the best results are the people who use it best out of the gate.
And it's funny because you mentioned people who use it best out of the gate. The one thing that most people don't realize, ChatGPT was released November of 2022. In case we're doing the math, that's almost 4 years ago. So it's funny to me as people are like, oh, I want to get ahead of the AI. I hate to say it, but you're already 4 years late.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
So now the biggest thing is if you're not catching up to at least be even, you're getting left behind, and you're getting left behind hard. I think the biggest thing right now that people need to realize, utilize, understand is the industry as a whole is going so fast. The smart people understand what mundane tasks, like Charlie mentioned, like you mentioned, researching what are the closest accounts in your area. What are the biggest opportunities in your area? Absolutely, yes. Back in the day, if you rewind, there used to be a blue book. If you rewind after the blue book, you had to go Google it. Then you have to, go out and visit job sites. There's all these things where you have to find out who the biggest players are. Now that AI handles all that stuff, it does not change the fact. It speeded up the process. It didn't change the process. You still need to follow up with those leads. Charlie said it perfectly. You need to go out and people buy from people, and you have to know how to build the trust factor. And I will tell you right now, AI is actually making the trust factor even bigger. And here's why I say that. My daughter, Charlie mentioned he has kids. We have kids. When you sit there and you look at it, my daughter will look at stuff in her internet feed. She'll look at stuff that she sees on social media, and she can sniff out the AI and the fake instantly. And it immediately, like, it'll be a picture of a coffee cup. It'll be a picture of something being poured, and it isn't even overdone. And her eyes pick up those false images so quickly. And it's interesting because it actually turns her off. Like, she's like, oh, Dad, that's AI. Oh, Dad, that's AI.
Yeah.
And for lack of a better term, is it's like saying, oh, it's a Muppet. It's fake. And when people already watching my daughter, when I see her sales or quote buying style, is she sniffs out fakeness and doesn't like it, it tells me authenticity, genuine connection, and truth have become the hot commodities, because you see so many lies.
Yeah.
You actually want truth and authenticity more than ever. And I think it's going to become the big leverage in sales. Everybody's going to know how to use AI. Everybody's going to know how to make artificial images. Everybody's going to know how to draft up a perfect email because AI did it. The question is, do you know how? Have you learned how to have a great, authentic, genuine conversation where someone says, I trust you?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you've nailed it right on the head. I mean, it's really about, okay, reports that might have taken me weeks to create now can happen in 18 seconds. So that means I have more time to prospect. I have more time to set meetings. I have more time to build that one-on-one trust relationships, right? That I'm not spending a week at a time on a project and something that I have to do. So if you look at it a way to accelerate your business in the proper way, and exactly what you said, focus on those human interaction skills, I think that's where it's really dangerous in a very positive way, right? The go-getters, the grinders, the people that, don't look at it as a way to do less work. Actually, I'm looking at it as a way to create way more work for me, just more efficient. And I think that's the key to AI in my eyes. It's not Google, right? Like, if you're using AI to look up a question to an answer, you're so far behind. 4 years is a long time. AI is teaching the next version of AI, which just means exponentially faster. It's learning, it's growing, it's getting better. So, I mean, I can remember in the beginning of this almost 4 years ago, it was almost kind of weird to use AI. Like, what do you mean you're using AI? Like, that's kind of, Skynet, right? Like, we think about the Terminator days. And it's like, no, I mean, it's a tool, right? And when you were a horse and buggy, a gas combustible engine felt weird, right? Well, you have to adapt, you have to grow with these things, and technology pushes us. Now we're just in this unbelievable race that's happening. And if you aren't getting on this, you're going to be left behind so quickly. Absolutely. That your jobs they won't exist, right? You have to adapt to everything around you and know how to use the tools to the best of your ability.
Elliott, to kind of play devil's advocate here, as we see the next generation, the younger and younger guys get into that ordering decision maker position, what kind of trends are you seeing on those guys making their choice purely offline? I mean, I know Equipment Share, some of the big guys, you don't have to talk to a person to get your whole job site off the ground and going. Are you seeing the younger generation liking that, or are they still kind of afraid of that?
I'm going to play this two twists, because I'm going to include each one of you. Knowing Brandon's background as a chef, knowing your background in golf, and knowing my background in sales, here's the biggest thing I'll tell you. I can go and play a golf simulator. It doesn't beat walking the course. I can go out and I can do Uber Eats. It doesn't beat a dining experience. I can go out and I can say, look, I've watched companies where they're like, look, we're going to go online. We're going to order up all of our equipment. Outstanding. Go do it. And then you open up the package and you realize it's not what I wanted. Right now, more than ever, talking about the golf course, talking about being a chef or in real estate, or speaking about how I work in sales, every one of us wants, and it's the biggest thing, we want a personal concierge and a /coach advisor. If you look, when you go onto Amazon, you're right. What are the ratings for that product. Why do you care about the ratings? Well, because I want a coach and advisor. Guess who that coach and advisor is? You have no idea. Are they an industry expert? Why am I taking restaurant advice from a 22-year-old who barely knows how to scramble eggs? I'll tell you who I want to take advice from when I go out to dinner, an executive chef like Brandon. When I go play a golf course, I don't want to have somebody where here's like, oh, well, it plays really good on a simulator. That doesn't mean a damn thing. Go to the golf course, and I want to play with somebody who's played the golf courses. I want to meet up. I want to be with people who know it, experience it, and are going to engage me. And I think to your thing, to the point that you made of, will everybody be buying online? We will always find people that want the ease of buying online. Every person here, doesn't matter who's listening to this call, we've all gotten burned buying something online. Your Uber Eats showed up and it was tossed. It was all upside down. It looked terrible. You go out and you say, hey, this golf course was really highly rated, and you find out it's a par 3. You go out and you rent a piece of equipment, and the company that sends it out was the cheapest company, and you realize it was a low quality piece of equipment that was not well maintained. Every single one of those affects the overall experience that customer has, and I really don't think that AI is going to replace it. And I actually think it will have people where they will realize the value of a great interaction, because they're going to start trusting people that have the experience. It's not going to just be ratings. It's going to be someone you trust.
I couldn't agree more. I've met some people from the Chick-fil-A company, and we were talking about all the different nuances of restaurants. And a hot topic is, inflation, raising prices, right? Like the cost of food goes up constantly. Margins already razor thin. What happens, especially in the local mom and pops, right? Like they're scared to raise their prices. So they just keep cutting their margin and their margin and the margin. And the next thing you know, you got loss leaders, right? And, one or two are okay if they bring the crowds in that are spending the money on everything else. But at the end of the day, if you got a menu full of loss leaders, you're going to close very quickly, right? So something that I remember CEO of Chick-fil-A saying to me that stuck with me to the core: if they're complaining about your prices and they're not coming in, two things are happening. One, your user experience or diner experience is not what it needs to be. Or two, they're not your customer, right? I mean, if what I'm selling you in the real estate world, right? Like I'm sure there's a way, Zillow and all that, you can buy houses and all those things on there. And luckily I'm not in the housing world, I'm in the commercial side. But like, if you don't want to meet and look at the space and allow me to talk to you about what it is, understand what we're talking about, you're not my customer. And go do what you need to do online and do all those things, and that's fine. And there's a world for that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in what I do, I facilitate an experience, and I handle whether I'm tenant repping or if I'm landlord repping. I'm working for somebody there, and I'm doing the work, and I'm creating an experience, right? I mean, I can go imagine, hey, here's this, I don't even know how big of a space it is. Couldn't even tell you how much it is. You ready to sign a lease? Of course not. You have to be able to articulate what's going on here. You need to know what their need is, right? Which involves questions, discovery questions, and making not feel like a robot interacting with people. And in real estate, we really talk a lot about, we are working in a way of trust-based long-term relationships, right? I'm not trying to sell you a piece of property or lease something to you or for you with the idea that I'm never going to see you again. I want to perform, right? I want the experience to be as painless as possible. I want you to feel great about what's going on. And we all agree, I think, in a transaction, if both sides feel like they won and both sides feel like they had to compromise something there, then that's a successful deal, right? So the power of somebody like me in that world is to try to get to that deal every single time.
It sounds like the answer is, in person, you bring value. Where is the perceived value online? Is that would you agree, Elliott?
Absolutely. I think the interesting thing that'll end up happening, which they've already done studies on this, is they've looked at it and they've proven. They actually did a study with children, small children, and they took photographs of people's faces and they had different emotions on them. And they showed these images to children, and they realized now that generations have gone by, children have less understanding of all of the different emotions. And there's happy, there's sad, there's a couple of different emotions, but there's not the same gamut of depressed, frustrated, angry, confused. They're just looped into mad. And as these changes have come around, I actually think when someone can go out and make those personal connections, it will enlighten people that they're actually seeing more emotions. And I'm going to tell you one of the biggest phrases, and we all know this: emotion causes motion. If you're really passionate about something, you would be amazed how easy it transfers to somebody else. If you walk into a restaurant, if you walk onto a golf course and somebody's like, oh my gosh, you're going to love the ninth hole. That person rolls up to the ninth hole and they look at it differently. Oh my gosh, you're going to, oh, the lamb chops tonight with the jam. Oh my Lord. And all of a sudden that person's like, wait, what? Yeah, I found this real estate piece of property. You must see it. And immediately somebody's saying that transfer of enthusiasm is where sales are made. And it'll become a hotter commodity as time goes by.
I think it's a skill that's not really inherently taught. I think a lot of times energy is something that you either have or you don't have. And I'm not saying it can't be learned, but when you learn something like that and you don't learn it in a way that isn't authentic, then it feels like that fake cup, that fake pour, you know, like to the point of what you were talking about your daughter. I mean, I am naturally a very high energy guy. I have been told so many times, why are you so happy? My response is, why aren't you? Right? I mean, I woke up this morning, I got air in my lungs, the sun rose. I get to live another great day on this earth. Like, why aren't you happy? You know, and I'm infectious that way, right? I mean, I'm an energy guy, I'm a culture guy, and I believe in coming into my office with my restaurants back in the day, and I say good morning to everybody. We're knuckling, we're high-fiving. How was your day? Great. What's going on? How's your family? Tell me about all these things. I'm a big believer in manifesting positive things in your life. If you think you can do something long enough and you put yourself in positions to do that, you can do it. I mean,
Amen.
I used to get the question all the time in the restaurant world, especially from the younger cooks, right? Like, Chef, how did you get here? How did you get from being a biscuit maker at Hardee's when you were 15 years old to owning 6 restaurants, to being an executive chef, to working in all of these great restaurants? And quite frankly, my parents told me I could be anything when I was a kid, and I believed it.
That's
and
right.
I just put my mind to it and said, okay, it's all problem solving, right? Like, I mean, I literally at 46 years old, I decided to sell everything and get into real estate. That's crazy. With 4 kids, a wife, all the mortgage, everything I have, everybody I knew was like, dude, you are nuts. But every one of them also who knew me said, anybody can do it, you can do it. And for me, it's just a problem solving thing, right? Like, it wasn't like I woke up one day and said, all right, I quit, I'm gone. It was a 2-year process, right? I decided 2 years before I was going to do it. What are the steps to get there? Because at the end of the day, that's all it is. A system is really just writing down what you do every day that you're not even aware of, right? When people get paralyzed in the fact that I got to create a system, you already have a system. You just didn't write it down. So to the point of, you open the door, right? And you come in, what's the first thing you do in your building? I cut the lights on. I go over here and I do this. If I'm in the kitchen, I cut the hood on, I cut the ovens on it. That's the process. Just put it in paper now, right? So for me, the way my brain thinks is, okay, I'm going to get into real estate. But what do I have to do? First thing you got to do is you got to take a 60-hour course and you got to pass the test. Okay, well, where do I get the course from? How do I start studying? Let me just start. 60 hours is going to happen whether I take this course or not. So let's go ahead and do it, right? So you knock that out, you take it, then you start lining up interviews. You interview, you find the place you want to be. You get in, you find somebody that's smarter than you, that's been there longer. You make sure to be personable enough to get them to like you, to want to train you. And then you learn, and you ask as many questions as possible. Be the F and G, right? The F and new guy. That's what it stands for in the restaurant world.
Same thing every other restaurant. Yep.
In Kitchen Confidential. So, it's always been that thing of like, you only have a finite time to be that person, right? Because at some point, if you're here 10 years, you ask the same questions, maybe this isn't for you, or maybe I don't have the patience to help you. So utilize that time, make your procedures, figure out what it is from A to B to C to F. How do I become this? And then just go do it. And that's just how I think about life. And now I'm on the cusp of being, considered a successful broker and doing the things that I'm doing. And it's really the same way as one of the restaurant business. I put my head down, I busted my butt, I showed up, I was dependable, I was reliable. I didn't, I partied with the best of them, but you know what? I'd leave the bar and go to sleep in the parking lot because I wasn't going to be late for work. I need to be there. And I think dependability is a huge part.
If you want to learn how to fly, you better jump out of the nest. I watch way too many people where they play safe. They take a job where somebody else controls their destiny and controls their success. Mad respect to both of you guys. I'm going to tell you right now, you got to jump out of the nest. You can spend your entire career, you can spend your entire life playing soft and playing easy. There's a lot of people that do that. The rewards go to those who are willing to take risks and play hard.
Great golf brings people together. At Swing Away Golf Club, the experience is built for golfers and everyone who comes with them. Experience North America's only mechanically actuated virtual green with ball tracking by PuttView, paired with Full Swing Pro 2.0 simulators trusted by Tiger Woods and John Ram. Every swing is captured, every shot is real, and every putt reacts exactly like it would on the course. Serious golfers can dial in their game with tour-level feedback and unmatched realism. And for friends and family, Swing Away offers a comfortable, welcoming space with great food, a full-service bar, and fun, interactive experiences that make it easy for anyone to just jump in and enjoy the moment. Play iconic courses from around the world, share the experience together, and enjoy a place where competition, connection, and atmosphere all come together. Swing Away Golf Club. Practice, play, win.
I'll tell you what. Let's do one last one if you have time, Elliott. Let's do one last one. And Brandon, this will be a good one for all of us, I think, because we all made it through 2008. What is one lesson that you took from 2008 that has stuck with you and will stick with you for the rest of your life?
For me, diversification. I realize I watch people and they put all their eggs in one basket. I won't speak on just 2008. I'll speak on 2008 and I'll speak on 2020. Absolutely. So in 2008, I watched people and they put all of their rental equipment was on residential, real estate, construction market. And when that collapsed, they lost everything. I took a pounding from it, but I had just enough diversification to survive. So as much as 2008 rocked everybody's world, if you had other types of business, manufacturing, if you had people that were out there and they were doing government, parks and recs, municipalities, if you had all those, you could make enough money that you could survive. Was it as good? Absolutely not. But you didn't die. At the exact same time, in 2020, during COVID, it happened. Everybody got rocked. And a lot of people don't remember June of 2020, the price per barrel of gasoline, of crude, went to negative $23 a barrel, which means in Texas, they quit pumping oil and they stopped hard. We had employees that worked for my company that had a ton of equipment out on rent, and they put all their eggs in one basket. Respectfully, they made a lot of money off of crude oil pumping. And when that market stopped, it wasn't that they didn't know how to sell, is that they didn't know how to diversify. Mm-hmm. And I would tell you the best thing you can do is you have to make sure that you take care of all the different types of customers. And you have to make sure you have a big enough diversification that not if it stops, but when it stops, you can pivot and you can adjust so that you survive and maybe even thrive in an ever-changing economy.
Brandon, how about some wisdom from the restaurant industry in 2008?
I think Elliott knocked it out of the park. I mean, the diversification was exactly what I was going to say there. Honestly, I don't really have much to add. I mean, it killed it. I mean, that's the thing that the moment you asked the question, and I was going to do the same thing 08 and 20, because, basically they're the same thing as far as shutting the world and global economy down, and people weren't ready for it. I mean, I know in 2020, the buzzword was pivot, right? Everybody's pivoting. The same thing as diversification, right? I mean, in the aspect of understanding that one thing that we thought was going to be great isn't going to be great anymore, and you can't just sit there and die. You got to get up. You got to get to working, right? I mean, you got to get to start thinking. The the people that were like, oh, the government's going to take care of me and da 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 da, like that's going to stop. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the things that they did were needed, and people, definitely benefited from that. And I definitely am not trying to say anything against that aspect of it. But I can't tell you how many people didn't have a plan after that. Didn't have a thought, forward thinking that, okay, cool, they're going to pay me this money, and now I'm going to smoke weed and play Xbox all day long in the basement. No, bro, like that's going to stop eventually. And then what are you going to do? The people that I think came out of both those things in a good situation took the downtime, reflected, obviously licked our wounds, and then started thinking, what's next, right? Like tomorrow's not promised to anybody anything anywhere. So what's next? What can I do to try to think about what's the next move? My wife just took a job in the trash business, right? She works for public services and she's selling dumpsters and stuff like that. The very first thing we talked about in her looking at that career, recession proof, right? Like that was something that we talked about immediately of, wow, I mean, trash is never going to stop happening. COVID, trash was hugely abundant. 08, trash was still happening, right? So it's like, okay, there's something that, what's funny for me is 08, we felt that restaurants were recession proof, right? I think every restaurateur that had a good brand and was, endeared to the community always felt like people would take those moments and make, maybe I'm not coming 5 days a week or 3 days a week, but I'm still going to come for the anniversaries. So you just had to try to gather more people. COVID showed us very quickly that we couldn't make it through that, right? All of a sudden, we're having the Cisco's, the U.S. Foods of the world calling us and asking us to be grocery stored because they had so much food that was going to die in their warehouses that now we're selling retail stuff. And a lot of people did that, and then all of a sudden we're selling to-go alcohol and outdoor venues and events and, all these things that everybody was trying to create. But at that moment, honestly, for me, it was like I was already kind of ready to get out of the business. And a big part of that was my 4 kids, and I was tired of missing their life. But that really was the moment where I thought 2 things. Real estate's where I'm going, and I'm going to create a clothing brand. And I did both, right? And it was diversification, right? It was something in my head of, okay, here's 2 ideas that I've been thinking a long time for. I have connections in both worlds. Being a chef, I'm super creative, and I have the desire to do the thing with the clothing line. And in the real estate world, I think I have the skill set to be successful in that. So for me, COVID was the beginning of, okay, this is probably a 5-year plan to get there, but you know what's going to happen? 5 years is going to happen whether I think about this or not. So let's use that time to really hone in on what you're going to do.
I will add one thing that in 2020, with respect to restaurants, Brandon, I told Anna, I was like, we're going to see real quick who runs a good restaurant, and those who, to your point, pivoted and got those alcohol specials, got those meal in a box type cook at home things. Those who stepped up their to go programs are the ones who made it through that and came out on the other side healthier, almost like the Taco Bell of Demolition Man, if you remember that old movie. Well, guys, that's really all I've got. I'll open it up for any last comments for y'all, but I truly appreciate it. I thought it's been excellent conversation, and couldn't be prouder to put out this product once we cut it and get it right.
I think you facilitated it awesomely. Thank you for the great questions. Thank you for the wide spectrum that you put out. You did an absolutely amazing job, and you're appreciated. Thank you, Charlie. I appreciate what you do for the industry.
Thank you so much, Elliott. Thank you. Again, this is Live on the Clubhouse with Charlie Bolak. This in all, of a parody. I started to say all joking, but it's not. I mean, there's a hint of seriousness to it, but the question is, what are the ethics of sending your kid to daycare? I know the rules, but what are the actual ethics? What does average Joe and Jane, do with their kid when they're sending the kid? Because we have, Frank in daycare, and he brings home the most exotic colds, and I've talked about on the show, I got hand, foot, and mouth a couple years ago from Teddy. Well, I think from Teddy, who knows? But even as an adult, I didn't even know you could get something like that. Something that's not talked about enough in the industry is
You get burned out.
You're pretty screwed up individual that is unbelievably buttoned up and put together.
that was something that happened to me.
We are all human beings.
I actually have a chance now to understand how to be a better parent.
You don't have to talk to a person to get your whole job site off the ground and going.
My daughter, she can sniff out the AI instantly.
They're not your country.
I told Anna, I was like, we're going to see real quick who runs a good restaurant.
Doesn't matter if it's golf or cooking, you will get results when you love what you do.
This is Live on the Clubhouse with Charlie Bolak.
It's probably the 10th podcast I've been on as a guest.
Really?
Yeah.
And you've been on as a host. I mean, we should look into the podcast Hall of Fame, see if anybody's there yet. Oh, yeah, that to get into it, started off. I mean, that had to be a neat time, to say I want to talk about heavy equipment. Did you have co-hosts, or how
No.
did it all come to be?
Well, and you'll read about it in the book, but basically I was working from home during that time, and my rule is never to turn on the TV before 5 o'clock news. And this one day I happened to do it at 4:45, and Dr. Phil show was on. And he was interviewing a lady by the name of Ariva Martin. And she had written a book about rebranding yourself. And if anybody needed rebranding at that point in their life, it was me. So I bought the book, and in the book, it said, you can have your own radio show. I said, and it's through a company called Voice America. So I contacted them, and they didn't have anything about equipment rental or equipment sales or construction equipment in their lineup, which was worldwide. And so I got together with them, and we kicked off Rental Equip Talk Radio. And I billed it as a call-in talk show, basically. It was noon on Wednesdays, and I knew that everybody in the rental business was not shy, and they always had something to complain or bitch about. I said, man, this is a win-win all the way. So I cranked it up. It started about 18 months before the pandemic, and it stopped at the pandemic. So I advertised on the RER reports about what my subject matter was going to be, and had the phone number and all that kind of stuff. And Charlie, nobody calls.
It amazes me still. Not that it's the same thing, but I'll have these events here. I had a Evil Leprechaun 4-ball old timey scramble back when I think St. Patrick's Day, and I bought a set of knickerbockers, a nice scaly hat, was going to sell teams, had drink specials. I tell you, Donald, I sat up here that entire day in my knickerbockers, my Boston Scally cap, by myself. Not one person opened my door the entire day. I was shocked.
Yeah, well, I had to kind of redo the format and started to have guests in. And so I would have the guests free to them. The whole idea was to sell advertising on the show, of course. And so I would have the guests, and I would say, you give me the questions that you'd like me to ask you so that you get the most out of the show. And so like a guy right up in Baton Rouge, Brian Evans with Evans Environmental, he was one of my first guests. We talked about wash systems and stuff like that. Another guy was buddy of mine, Dan, up in the north. He's in the northeast right now, and he's a broker, just like I am. And so I had him talk about the different aspects of preparing your business for sale, and I had James Wade on as a guest about M&A work and the legal stuff around it, and a lot of things like that. So, but sometimes I had to write a script for an hour, and it wasn't video like this. I was just talking into a microphone. So, man, I'm gonna tell you, I had like 15 pages typed up in big print. And I would read all kind of management styles and all this other kind of BS just to keep the show rolling. So,
oh, wow. And this was, you said this was 2019?
Well, back up from whenever the pandemic started, it was 18 months before that.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. So in that time frame. So it's I guess that is pre-Chat GPT. I don't get like a script from the show at all, but I will have like an outline notes that Chat GPT has helped me. I'll put in, I'll say, hey, this is what I want to talk about on the show this week. It'll pull some current events. I mean, it's amazing where it's gone and how quickly it's moving. One of the points in our talk with Elliott Vigil was, I said, hey, the guys that are getting in on AI early are the guys that are going to be. He's like, well, this, it was 6 years ago. Those were the guys that got in early.
Right.
And hey, fair point. Maybe I'm one of the guys that thought I got in early and did, because I hadn't been on it for 6 years. I might have a year and a half. I don't know where that would put me on the curve. Hopefully a little ahead anyway.
And then there's another one. I use Perplexity, just like ChatGPT, which it's a little bit more specific with the numbers, if you will.
Okay.
So that's just another. It costs you, I think, $200 a year.
Ooh.
But some of the projects I'm working on, it has saved me days and days of research. You can get it in like a minute. It's just
it's amazing.
Learn how to ask the right questions.
And tell it what you want. Like, so somebody, I asked a guy that uses a lot for some tips, and he was like, look, if you're asking it to do something, tell it to be an expert in that field. Hey, you're a civil engineer. How do I do a bypass? You're a author. How, write a book. It's amazing, just by telling it these little things, what the higher functionality you'll get out of it, rather than it sitting there looking from its perspective, I guess. I don't know. That to me, it refined a lot of my search.
Yeah. I mean, it'll even give you a chart of accounts. Say, I want to start this kind of a business. I need an accounting system. Give me create a chart of accounts, and it'll even do that for you.
That's amazing. That's, hey, I need some of that going right now. All right. So let's get into a couple of these questions. I don't want to take, I don't want it to feel too formal or structured, but so for somebody who may not know the whole story, give us a quick version. What does your business look like today? Between the business, the brokerage, the consult, everything that you do, how do you tie that into, I guess, hell, everything you got going on?
Well, I've been in the business. I've been attached to the industry for 60 years. Okay. Starting in high school, basically. And, I've grown several companies. I've sold several companies as a leader in some companies. I was very involved with the growth and the merger and acquisition side of the industry. The only other industry I've been involved with outside of equipment is the pipeline maintenance industry for oil and gas. That a friend of mine asked me to come in and help him grow that, and I did that, and then we sold it. And that's when I had some time on my hands. And so that's when I did the podcast. I wrote a book, and then some guys asked me to get back into the M&A industry with them. I did that with them for a year. And then I said, I can do this by myself without sharing commissions. And I guess in the last few years, I've done about 160 million in transactions. So,
wow.
I've been very fortunate. And, Charlie, I haven't left my house. I work out of my house. And I haven't had to visit these people. A lot of it's referral from other friends and stuff like that. And you just got to crunch the numbers and go out and market it in different ways, be it on LinkedIn. I do some direct mail. I do some direct contacts of regional companies who might want to grow to that area, that type of thing. So
that's pretty amazing.
The whole industry's been very rewarding, I would say.
And does it, the brokerage side of it, does it all center around the heavy equipment, or have you branched into other things?
I have two companies that are not related to rental. I've got a standby generator sales and service company over in Mississippi. I've got a blasting and painting equipment company for sale down in South Louisiana. Some of those smaller ones and even the equipment rental ones that are small are so much harder to sell than a big one. If you're not doing a couple of $1 million a year, they just don't even want to bother with it.
Well, and that's the thing, like with Swing Away, my golf business is listed for sale. We've just decided that we'd rather tie up our money in other things. But selling the vision of a new business as opposed to, a business that has, the formula calculations.
All right, watch my first hole in one. Just carrying on, man, bro.
3 times EBITDA, and that's your number. When you're asking somebody to pay and you don't have the numbers to support it, it probably makes your job as a broker a lot harder too, huh?
Well, it does. And, unfortunately, the smaller the business, they don't really check their numbers regularly. Okay. Not to mention that and there's nothing wrong with this, but they run so much stuff through the business that when you're trying to get an adjusted EBITDA number or non-recurring owner expenses, I would say, when you got 3 kids on the payroll for health insurance and car insurance and cell phones and all that kind of stuff, it's okay to do that. But then when you go to sell it, you got to be able to track that to quantify that those are the real numbers that won't be recurring, that will increase the cash flow of the business.
Sure.
So,
No, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And I've learned more about cash flow in the last year with this business. It you just always think, you work your way down a P&L as you work in a corporate, as you work for somebody else. You have your top line numbers, then you fight like hell to take some of that down to the bottom line. But it's, in the small business world, it's not. So it's more about cash flow. If I can get that cash flow in the right place, I don't even have to necessarily hit my break even numbers, because everything's hitting at the right time. I've got the cash flow moving when I need to write the checks. The money's coming in, but it's it catches up, right? It doesn't build that way forever.
Right. And some smaller companies don't even do their depreciation till the end of the year. And when I got into the pipeline maintenance business, it was to prepare that business, to grow it, and to sell it. And so on our monthly financials, we had the EBITDA number every month as to where we were tracking. So we wouldn't have to go back and research all the shit to say, let's go back and calculate. It was just
Trust me.
part of the standard stuff that we did.
Yeah. Now, how at that level does that kind of data roll up? Because I know at the branch manager level, the first 5 days of the month, I'm cleaning up. Last month, I'm the one researching those expenses and figuring out why something's in one bucket needs to go to the other. And I will say, for United Rentals, they had a very robust software that made it relatively easy. It's still a pain, but it was easier than I saw it at other companies.
Right. Well, always one of the targets was to close as fast as possible, and if you can close in a week, then you can actually see where the problems are, so that you can start adjusting for that month that you're already in and starting and see, like in pipeline maintenance, there's a ton of labor. Okay. And if you can have guys in the yard, but if they're not out working, that's still an expense. It's unbilled labor. And it's a real cost, and it can kill you.
Oh yeah. I've got a buddy right now whose work's dried up, and he's paying 2 crews to sit idle.
Exactly.
I didn't really think about it, but he made the point. When you've got good people, you've got to fight, tooth and nail to keep them. And I've been preaching that from the top side. I guess I never thought about it from that end, rolling up that way. But man, I tell you, it's everywhere you look in small business, there's another little struggle. It's fun now. I'm not complaining. I'm enjoying it. And this is, for all intents and purposes, a master's degree for me, in my opinion. I've learned more, like I said, in the last 6 months doing this than I ever did at my fine Auburn University there. Not taking anything away. I loved Auburn, great education, but nothing can prepare you for what you actually see once you get out and start screwing things up in the real world.
Right. By the way, my son-in-law went to Auburn.
Did he? War Eagle to him. War Eagle, a great place. If they'd let me go back, I would, but I think they were after my 5-year plan, going back twice, I think they were ready for me to get out. So they let me come back on game days every now and then. That's about it.
Let's just say I wasn't asked to leave, but I left.
Yeah, right. So talk about what you've seen the industry, now going back to rental specific, what you've seen in the industry in the time you've been in. I mean, if you're in your 70s now, what, 50 years of watching it evolve?
Well, there's so many things that have changed, Charlotte. And so, like, I would say one of the biggest parts of the industry now is aerial equipment. So when I was coming in, aerial was really just getting started. I mean, it just didn't exist. And now you've got specialty houses that do nothing but that. And so our business was kind of light contractors, do-it-yourselfers, medical, party, everything. We had 17 locations all over South Louisiana. And so I migrated into bigger equipment as I changed jobs over the years. Okay. And then after Hurricane Katrina, when I opened up my own company with a couple of guys, I knew exactly what we needed to have, quite frankly. I knew how many compressors, which had slowed down a bit, compact equipment, aerial equipment, some earth moving equipment. We didn't have any dozers, but we had some good sized excavators. And the key to that business is that we were located right next to the New Orleans Superdome, downtown New Orleans. I mean, right next door. And we would have customer parking for free on game days. We'd move all the equipment into a corner, and then the customers come in for free. And those who weren't customers paid $20, which helped pay for the beer and all the food that we gave to the customers. So
you can't beat that. That's wonderful. What a setup.
Think about how equipment has changed. There's so many more safety features. The equipment's so much smarter. With telematics, you can do so much with that. I mean, it's just the world has changed over the years and just gotten better. I'm not big on all this electric stuff, quite frankly, that's coming into the market.
Are we getting into the final tier 4? That's what we're talking about. Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, just in general, I always picture a skid steer in the middle of a job site that runs down and stops, and how are you going to get it back to the charging station versus grabbing a 5-gallon can of diesel and have it back running in 10 minutes.
That's true. But now they got them like the little Roombas. They sense that they're getting low, and they tell you, hey, either you take me back to the base or I'm going back. My golf cart that derated itself a mile from my house down to 10 miles an hour, and said that's the only way you can make it home. It didn't know how far home was, but I guess it's got a certain distance that it let me limp it on back.
And again, technology and equipment's much smarter all the way around.
It is. And just in my brief time, the telematics, what we were able to do with that, specifically to sewer bypass, back in the day, you'd have to have a whole crew, sitting with these pumps 24 hours a day.
Right.
And now the way we've got it set up, you put the right gear in these bypasses. I can tell you your flow. I can tell you, your run cycles, your RPMs. I can tell you how that pump's breathing day in and day out. And, the right guy can do that on multiple projects. And that's been amazing to watch for me. But kind of taking it back and piggybacking off that question a little bit, when did, previously it was, going to the aerial equipment, I would assume if somebody had that, aerial 820-foot boom, they're the guy in that area that did anything that needed that 120-foot boom, until somebody said, well, let me buy 5 of them and try to rent them. Is
right.
that it? How did that, look, that must have been the absolute Wild West, just seeing, hey, would this be better for the customer if I bought it and they rented from me? And then once you're rewarded with that decision and how it just blows up, it must have been incredible.
I remember us buying 2, back then it was called Selma lifts out of Selma, California. And they were like, they were rough terrain, 32-foot height. And that was the newest thing that had hit the city. And unfortunately, my dad had the concept that bigger equipment, bigger debt, bigger receivables, bigger maintenance. And so we decided, after having them a while, we sold them to somebody who started a specialty company in that, because we were like the lean and mean company, quick in and out stuff. And we had in neighborhood stores, it's almost like a convenience grocery store in your corner, when you need a 6-pack of beer or something like that. It was kind of the quick in and out type of thing rather than the heavy construction. And you had a great relationship with this contractor. We had great relationships with a lot of people who were in the construction industry, but it wasn't like we were the main focus. If they needed an air compressor package or something like that, or skid steer loader, that was about as big as we got. We got very big into cars and trucks, quite frankly. and at one point had a fleet of about 300 vehicles,
Oh, wow.
all from Ford. I used to spend my Friday nights repoing vehicles. There's a lot of stories I could tell you about that, but I won't bore you with the details.
Oh, I bet that's not boring at all. I bet you have some great ones.
I'll tell you, the one guy had rented a van, an Econoline van, and I found it, and we always had an extra set of keys. And so I walked up to the van. It was about 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, God.
And I looked in, and the guy was sleeping in it on the sofa. And I said, I'm not going to bang on it he may have a gun. Who knows? So I figured with Mother Nature, he's going to have to go to the bathroom sooner or later. So I waited, and finally he got out and went into this apartment complex, and I jumped in and took all his shit. And
That's incredible.
Never heard
That
from
is
him again.
incredible. I mean, what if he just woke up and you're driving? He's like, where are we going? Oh, the repo man. Sorry, dude.
You can't trust that kind of stuff, with,
Yeah,
especially in
no,
today's world.
no, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Golly. So kind of evolved from, the small, and I'll tell you what, on a separate note, one underserved market here is all rental companies have walked away from the homeowner. They used to all, maybe not center around the homeowner, but they took special care to have certain things that homeowners would use from time to time, and it's just gone unless you want to go to Home Depot or one of those guys and pay out the nose.
Yeah. Well, during the pandemic, those Home Depots thrived because people were working at home, and so suddenly they had all these projects to do. And so that's the kind of thing, electric jackhammers that anybody can use, floor sanders, just the stuff that you barely see in today's world, quite frankly. But those
I
are
wonder-
bread and butter things for us.
I wonder how they do with like the mini X's, because you see a few of them, like the real little mini X's. I would just always be afraid that somebody would break it, and you go to charge damage on their car, and it's just not there. What do you do?
Yeah.
I guess file insurance.
Yeah. Well, be careful, because if you charge damage waiver, then you can't file against your insurance.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh man,
Damage waiver, Charlie. The whole issue with damage waiver is that you can't go back against your insurance company. It's a subrogation issue, in that if you charge somebody 15% damage waiver, something happens, you usually have some deductibles printed in the fine print. Okay, but when you do that, then you're giving up your right to file a claim with your insurance company, who in turn would go after your customer.
Oh, well, yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that. And so a lot of these bigger dealerships and stuff, unless you get a certificate of insurance, they're not going to rent you.
Yeah, that's I mean, insurance rules the world there, and I'm a private pilot, and I mean, there's certain airplanes I couldn't even look at, with the amount of hours I have, and it has nothing to do with my ability as a pilot. It has to do with no insurance is going to cover.
Right.
And you probably don't want to send a guy that's been 400 hours in a pea shooter to a 737. So I get it to a certain extent, but I mean, there are lines where it kind of gets obnoxious sometimes.
Sure.
Great golf brings people together. At Swing Away Golf Club, the experience is built for golfers and everyone who comes with them. Experience North America's only mechanically actuated virtual green with ball tracking by PuttView, paired with Full Swing Pro 2.0 simulators trusted by Tiger Woods and John Ram. Every swing is captured, every shot is real, and every putt reacts exactly like it would on the course. Serious golfers can dial in their game with tour-level feedback and unmatched realism. And for friends and family, Swing Away offers a comfortable, welcoming space with great food, a full-service bar, and fun, interactive experiences that make it easy for anyone to just jump in and enjoy the moment. Play iconic courses from around the world, share the experience together, and enjoy a place where competition, connection, and atmosphere all come together. Swing Away Golf Club. Practice, play, win. Great golf brings people together. At Swing Away Golf Club, the experience is built for golfers and everyone who comes with them. Experience North America's only mechanically actuated virtual green with ball tracking by PuttView, paired with Full Swing Pro 2.0 simulators trusted by Tiger Woods and John Ram. Every swing is captured, every shot is real, and every putt reacts exactly like it would on the course. Serious golfers can dial in their game with tour-level feedback and unmatched realism. And for friends and family, Swing Away offers a comfortable, welcoming space with great food, a full-service bar, and fun, interactive experiences that make it easy for anyone to just jump in and enjoy the moment. Play iconic courses from around the world, share the experience together, and enjoy a place where competition, connection, and atmosphere all come together. Swing Away Golf Club. Practice, play, win.
Well, let's see. Where are we going to go next with this? You came up through the family rental business. We talked a little bit about the sales and leadership. What role did you feel like you learned the most in it? And then to take that one step further, which one did you enjoy the most?
Well, I can tell you all those titles bring different responsibilities. Okay. So family business, I was vice president, and then I became president, but I became president when we had to file for Chapter 11 because of a horrible accident that you read about in the book. And the main thing is that I had to write letters to my dad canceling real estate leases, which is something you're allowed to do during Chapter 11. Okay. Moving on from that company, when I went down south to Buckner Rental after we lost the company, the challenge was I need to be accepted by these people who have been around this company for so many years. And so that's when your reputation is on the line. And so how you treat people and things like that. So I started out as a sales manager. 3 months later, became general manager, but moved to Houma from New Orleans. And then 3 years later, we sold the company and I became president. And the then president became CEO. And we had a board of 5 people that were all investment bankers.
Okay. So one of the earlier private equity into the equipment industry ventures, I guess.
The guys behind it were the same guys who built RSC. But
Okay.
they had fallen out with the head of RSC. And so they went on a search for another company that they could grow. And Buckner Rental in Houma was the one. We had 7 locations. And so as president, I helped build it to 27 locations.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
great.
So that was a real challenging time. I learned a lot moving into different equipment, offshore equipment that was going out in the Gulf of Mexico on oil rigs and stuff. And so instead of having a wheel mount air compressor, you got a skid mount compressor. Instead of a wheel mount welder, you got a skid mount welder. And all those things had to have emergency shutdown devices. They had to have drip pans to collect any fluids that might leak out of the machine. So there's a lot of different stuff like that I had to learn and learn fast, quite frankly, because we were moving pretty quickly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That sounds like it. And anytime you go through a major business transaction like that, there's growing pains. There's, looking forward, but not losing what you're doing either. Because, a lot of those guys operate on such thin margins that, 1 or 2 missteps messes up your whole financial picture. And you go from thriving, growing to struggling to survive.
Right. I think one of the most challenging ones was when I got into the pipeline maintenance business. a guy who I'd worked with in the rental industry, Ed Buckner. In fact, we met when he was like 19 and I was 39, I think. Still very close friends today. And I called him about something. He said, man, I've been meaning to talk to you. I want you to come have lunch. And I didn't know that pipeline maintenance existed. Okay. So he says, I got this partner and we do pipeline maintenance work. We do fabrication and we do blasting and painting. I said, that's fine. He says, I know that you know how to grow companies. I want you to come on as a COO and help me grow this company and sell it. And we did that. Okay. When I got there, they had one location doing 13 million. So I opened a branch in Texas. I bought a company in Alabama and I took over a company in Mississippi. And so then we had 4 locations doing 64 million within a few years. And then we sold it to private equity. Okay. Private equity had me as president fire the founders of the company. Okay. They didn't realize, how the relationship in this business really worked. And I told them they were crazy for doing it. They gave me a year's severance if I would do it. And then they started bringing in their own people. And then they didn't need me anymore. So
Or were they successful?
They shut down after 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, you can't just go in and butcher a place like that. Not one that's built on culture, trust, relationship. It just, I'm not saying there's not industries you can't just go in, buy, kick out, and roll. But I just don't feel like heavy equipment is. I mean, from the mechanic that, there's the backbone of the company. I've always said salesmen are a dime a dozen, right? You can go out and sell, and you can find anybody to sell anything. What you can't find are the guys that are going to actually keep that equipment running to make sure that the promises that sales guy's out making actually go through, actually come to fruition.
Yeah. So when I was writing the book, the first thing I did was outline the chapters of my life that I wanted to talk about. And so when I came to, my buddy's name is Travis Bergeron, by the way, and the company was called Marlin Services. And
I've heard of Marlin Services. I have.
Well, we were in Alabama, Prattville, Alabama.
Oh yeah. By that time, it wasn't my territory, but I remember seeing it on Target list. What were y'all doing in Prattville, Alabama?
Yeah. So I said, how do I describe what I did as a COO of a company? So I looked it up and it says, and I'm just going to read this. So what does a COO do? I said, I read an interesting article that goes like this. There's no one job description for COOs, but they are almost always inward-facing bureaucrats who make sure the trains run on time, cut a low profile, and toil in the shadow of their bosses.
Hey, that's a good way to put it. That is a good way. Well, let's say, how about the best ones do that? Some will try to, get in the way, get their voice heard above everybody. Some will, fail to meet the operational standards. Because look, operational excellence in this field is critical. There's fields that it's not quite as critical on. Look, I will, if I go to a restaurant, if the food is mediocre and the service is good, I will go back. And that's, to me, that's operations, right? Sales is your service.
Right. So I'll recap it like this. So we took over this company in Mississippi, and one of the guys went to Travis and said, what exactly does Mr. Donald do? You know what his response was? He takes care of all the shit.
Yeah. Anything you don't want to do rolls to his desk. Yeah.
So he was the leader of the company, but let's open a branch in Texas. So somebody has to go up there, get permitted, get a place, get all the supplies for the people, help hire the people, all those kinds of things.
Oh yeah.
So the place in Mississippi, they had an existing office and there's all this beautiful furniture in there, boardroom tables and stuff. And guys, I said, how much do you want for all this? He said, this stuff's worth about $20,000. And I looked around and I said, well, I can replace it all for $4,000. And he said, I'll take it.
Yeah, yeah. I fear that I may be in a similar situation there because I had a buddy of mine, in fact, a Marine colonel that lives in New Orleans. He's on one of those logistics bases. They're really, really good guy, but he does woodworking on the side. So he got some second growth cypress from down there and just made this absolutely wonderful live edge bar top. And it cost not quite 20,000, but it wasn't far off. And if this place goes under that, somehow or another, that bar top's coming with me.
It's called excluded assets.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, if you owe the money to the bank, can you exclude anything? I doubt it. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
They're going to get their bite if we get there.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. All right. So going back, let's talk a little bit now about the consulting that you're doing. You know, I think you and I communicated via email that I've started a consulting business as well, but mine is based on selling. So I've got a strategy of fleet gapping for very specific, you know, bypass customers that work on a very specific size of project. I can basically come in and say, okay, this is where your business is now. This is where you want to go. These are the size of jobs you want to go. These are the amount that are coming out. This is the right amount of pumps, the sizing of the pumps that will get everything that you need. You won't have to go out and rent on these projects unless you go outside of, you know, this little comfort zone we've built. And, you know, basically define that strategy and then define the pump that they'll need in that strategy and then sell them that pump. So I think that's kind of different. So your consulting is on kind of more the leadership, the growth, the scaling. Is that correct?
Yeah, and startups. You know, when I was with Buckner, I ended up doing, I call it a new store opening plan, and also a transitioning plan. If we bought a company, there's certain things that need to happen. But if we're going to go into another market, everything from the scratch pads for the salesman, you know, getting permitting and all those kind of things that have to happen. So somebody comes to me and says, I'm thinking about starting a rental company, I can give them this book, so to speak, about all the different aspects that you'll have to do in order to get started. Numbering systems, things that people don't think about, software that you have to acquire. You know, it's very rare you find somebody in this industry now that doesn't have a software package attached to them.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Some of that consulting right now, I'm actually in on 3 advisory boards for companies that are in the equipment industry. One of them is called chassis.ai. And all these guys found me on LinkedIn, by the way. And it's an AI concierge service for sales teams that they can track every sales call, phone call, email, text, whatever. So people don't have to spend their nights writing up reports and all that kind of stuff. You know, another one we just launched called Equip Hunter, which is a new used equipment sale website that has some AI features in it that we think is kind of a step above the way people have normally just gone onto a machinery trader and looked at hundreds of pieces of equipment. And then how do you know which one is really the one to buy?
So kind of a step up from Ralph's. I think that's what we use.
Right. And then the third one is a company called D-Rental, which is a lead generation company that we get contractors to go to the D-Rental to order their equipment online. And then we get a small percentage for a transaction fee. So those are the 3 main ones that I'm involved with and stay pretty steady on right now.
pretty neat. That is. That's I guess I'm just not there yet. Nobody's going to pay me for my mind, so I gotta kind of find some back where I can get in. Well, I guess I don't know. The fleet gapping is a bit of a mind, but it's really anybody could do it if they look close enough and really worked hard enough to figure it out.
And
I think
it just kind of depends on the project. If it's a straight M&A deal, work off a certain percentage of the sale, not including real estate if it's in California or Florida, because I'm not licensed there. If it's a consulting deal, depending on what I think time it's going to take, there may be an hourly fee. And there's been some of these new startups that I'm actually doing it for equity in the company.
oh yeah.
See, it's going to take off, then it's better for me to have shares than to record some income.
Oh, absolutely. You don't find a whole lot of people that are willing to see the forest through the trees and make those deals. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or that have the wherewithal, right? Not many people are in the position where they don't, need a paycheck coming in every week,
Right.
or can sustain operations long term without one anyway.
Right.
All right. So, man, I mean, I think we've talked great about how the AI is starting to come in. I think we took it back to kind of the beginnings of the industry in that where you started to see things going from little skid steers and they to the big iron. That's not going to be just one company that owns it that goes around doing all these jobs, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, most definitely. One of the fun, challenging jobs I had, of the many that I've had, was starting the cat rental program for the local cat dealer here. And so we took people from 4 different companies and got all their ideas together. I had my own ideas how things should work, but if we had a guy from Herc and if we had a guy from RSC, that could help and say, this is how we did it. And everybody brainstormed together to get the best ideas. So I opened 7 of those locations from scratch all over the state of Louisiana. So
That's awesome. That really, I mean, it's things like that. The experiences that can't be bought in a university. It can't be taught in a school. You can tell your stories, but it's you'll have a gut that nobody else will have because of the things that you've seen. There's so much talk about instinct in this business, but it's learned as much as it is inherent. There's people that parse information better than others, but the people that have the true gut instinct only got it by being there, right?
Right. And Charlie, one of the things that I learned that in one of my management styles was to try to get people to think for themselves. When somebody has a problem and they have a boss, they're going to go right to the boss, right? And so when that would happen with my guys, I would say, well, what do you think we should do? Well, what do you mean? I said, you're in the trenches with them. You know all the details of the thing. There's always 2 sides to a story. What do you think we should do? And get their true ideas and get them to get that brain churning a little bit. And sometimes they have great ideas and they help me to solve their own problem. And it's sometimes it might be, well, that's good. I think based on what I know, I think this is what we should do. But I said, don't ever hesitate to not try to solve the problem yourself, right or wrong. Okay. Make a decision and then tell me after the fact. If you need me, I'm always here for you. But
empowerment. Yeah. I mean, the Big Blue Machine made a push on that, but when you get that big, sentiment aside, it's just never going to make it all the way down. Right. It doesn't matter how good you are in your organizational, change, training, flexibility, anything. It's just never going to make it top to bottom all the way down. I mean, would you agree to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and I'm not saying they shouldn't try. I'm not saying you don't have these campaigns because I'm not. It helps. It makes it down. It just. I've never seen a complete transformative, change from top to bottom where you didn't have to kind of shave off, the dead meat along the way.
Right.
Let's see. I had a good question. It was a piggyback off one of them, and now of course, my wonderful memory is failing me here. But let's go back and talk kind of about the rental equip talk radio, because I mean I think that's something special, and I don't know if maybe it might have been a little before its time, or maybe, 'cause I don't know how you market something like, I don't know how you market what I do. I mean, I'm just posting stuff on YouTube and LinkedIn, and kind of like early in my sales career, I didn't know what I was doing. I was throwing darts everywhere, and eventually I found a few that stuck. Right. I
Well,
guess in my mid 40s, I'm trying to be more strategic, but it's still ultimately it's however many darts you're going to send and how many are going to stick.
yeah. Well, I mean, my marketing plan was pretty simple in that I would post it on LinkedIn, okay, which is for free. But then I also run an ad on the RER reports every week to say what the subject matter was going to be, because it came out Monday and my show was Wednesdays at noon. So if it's something of interest, at one point I had a couple thousand listeners in several countries, quite frankly.
Oh
That would
wow!
listen
And
to it.
is this streamed? It was streamed.
It was a live show, but then it would go to a podcast. So in other words, you could Google Rental Equip Talk Radio right now, and you'd find some of the shows that are still out there.
Okay. And what platform are they on?
I just, Voice America is all I can tell you.
Okay. All right. I'll have to look into it, because I don't even know where I would store any of my stuff. I don't know how long it stays on YouTube, which is where I'm putting it right now. But apparently, as we keep doing these things, I'm going to build up a ton of data.
Sure.
I mean, what do you do with it?
Ask Elliott. Elliott's got hundreds of them.
What does he do with it? Do you know?
Well, it's on his website.
Oh, okay. What? But you have to. I mean, you have to pay to keep all that stuff. I mean, you would, like, I'm in a very small storage category. To have all that, somebody's charging you, right?
I don't think it's very expensive, because even with the Rental Roadshow that we're doing, there's no real cost to storing the videos of people uploading a video tour of their business.
Makes sense. Well, somebody's storing it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not that technical. My daughter handles all that. I'm just
the magic of the internet. It
the
just
idea
goes
guy.
and it's there. Well, that's, I think you're starting to see a bunch of the talk about the impact of data centers. I think, this is why they're building the data centers. AI takes a lot of processing, but there's also just tons of storage that, I mean, some of these huge data centers are nothing more than a mini storage for your data, if you think about it that way. But it recalls on demand, and it's, amazing times we're living in, Donald. So but that's ultimately what I want to do, but without the broadcast, right? It's going to be, you find my link, it's there, but I don't think I'll ever have like a transmitter to send signal out into the world. I don't even know if they do that anymore.
That's way above my pay grade, I can tell you.
I'm learning more and more about it. I mean, I got some kind of sound mixer the other day that was, almost $1,000. It's supposed to just mesh all this together, and obviously you can tell by the quality of my video, I hadn't figured out how to work it yet, but I'm working on it. Well, that's, I mean, Don, I think I've taken up enough of your time. We're creeping up on 11 o'clock here. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. Is there anything you want to talk about? Is there anything you got? I've got about 30 subscribers, and I'll tell them, hey, get his book. This is the first book I bought outside of Audible in probably a decade. I'm just a big streamer on that. I listen to books constantly.
All right, watch my first hole in one. Just carrying on, man, bro.
I'm a hard copy guy, old school, like to fold the pages back, like to underline shit in the book and then go back and see why I underlined it. I'm reading 2 books right now, which I try to do in some of my spare time. One of them is How to Make a Few $1 Billion. It's written by Brad Jacobs, the guy who founded United Rentals.
Oh, really? Okay.
Only in the beginning of it talks about the other companies that he's building, multi-billion-dollar companies. And the other one is a book called How to Test Negative for Stupid and Why Washington Never Will. And it's written by our great Louisiana Senator John Kennedy. Who,
Okay.
always has all these little fun stories and stuff. You know, if I was stupid, it must have been my brother, you know, or something like that.
He looks enough like me. I'll just throw it right on him.
Yeah.
But,
you know,
I didn't have siblings, but my kids are about old enough. I can blame it on them.
I spend my time working all these projects, the M&A stuff and the advisory board stuff. And I've actually got a patent pending for an invention that I've been working on. And I've also got a trademark that I file for to start another company once it's solidified that will have, I think, an impact on the equipment rental industry.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey,
Can't
well,
say too much about it.
keep us surprised though. Keep us I'm curious now. You know, I like to have my ear on the ground. You know, me and my buddy down in Mobile are starting a little bit. He's got a little bitty equipment rental thing going on down there. He started with just trailers and is building it up. You know, and we're going to start going after this more and more. The pump sale thing. He's got some generators getting in. So, you know, I think you're here, we're here, but we're working to get there. We're working real hard too.
Well, you know, people who have read the book said, "How the hell did you get through all that shit?" You know, and the theory is never give up. You know,
one day at a time. That's right.
I'll tell you the lowest point of my life. Okay, was that I had lost a family business. We started another company with an investor. Over a weekend, I put together a business plan. We shrunk down to 4 locations. And after the first year, my dad and he had a falling out, and I left the company too. I was divorced, 3 kids, living in an apartment. I filed personal bankruptcy, business bankruptcy, and lost the company I had just started.
Jeez.
I didn't have a job. I didn't own a car. And I'd gone for an interview with Robert Buckner at the New Orleans airport, the Hilton. And on the way back, I stopped at an intersection and I kind of looked up and I said, you know, here's where I am. And I just told you all the stuff, divorce, bankruptcy, kids, blah, 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 new job. I looked up and said, what the hell else can go on? And Charlie, if I'm lying, I'm dying. Smoke started coming out from under the hood.
Oh, geez.
My borrowed car from my dad. And I said, life's got to be better, you know.
Thanks for that one. Yeah. That's you know, I was telling my wife, you know, to piggyback off that every now and then the universe just slaps you. You know, we're struggling here. This is a business that needs rain, right? It's amazing to me. I could be dead. I haven't had a person the whole time we've been sitting here, but you let a few drops of rain start, man, my phone rings. I mean, I've got people I can't keep them out. And I started looking because I was like, you know what? It's just been unnaturally beautiful this spring. Last spring and this fall have been like generationally the best fall spring combo in 25 years. And I was like, hey, thanks. You know, thanks. I appreciate that.
Well, I can tell you, let me tell you my take on golf since you're in it. Okay.
Come on.
Number one, it's the hardest sport I've ever tried in my entire life.
No doubt.
And I used to be pretty athletic in my day. Okay. Number two, when I was playing, I had a 6 handicap.
Oh, wow.
6 balls or 6 beers, whatever went first.
Yeah. You can't do well, you can at least catch a buzz. That's right. Just like fishing.
Number 3, physically, I've had a shoulder replacement and 3 fusions in my lower back and torn labrums in both hips. So I've lost range of motion, don't like to twist a lot to swing a club, so I don't play anymore. But the fourth thing is that every Sunday afternoon, I love watching the final round of these golf championships. Those guys are just freaking amazing. What they can do on a golf course and read the greens and all that kind of stuff. I don't know how they do it.
No, and this past weekend, Cameron Young, I mean, winning by, was it 4 strokes, I think? Just telling the golf world, here I am. Hope you're ready. And they've been saying it for a while that he was going to be special. And I think now you're starting to see it with the win at the Players, you know, dominating win here, coming up on another major. Is it next week, I think? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we just had the Zurich Classic here, and it's a team event. And the two Fitzpatrick brothers from Ireland won it second year in a row.
Yep. And good on him. It got the brother his tour card. I thought that was phenomenal. I
Yeah.
was very, very pleased about that. And yeah, I tell you what I do. So I have that course, TPC Louisiana, on my simulators here. So when I have the course that they're playing at that week, I'll set every setting I have as hard as I can absolutely make it, and go out and play these courses. And I didn't break 100 one time. And I'm not a bad golfer, but I mean, these guys are playing from 7,500 yards. I hit it 250. Do the math. It just doesn't get there. But it's fun, and it gives you, it really makes you respect what these guys are doing week in and week out.
Well, when you put the course here on your thing, do you put alligators on it?
No, but Torrey does have the parasailers, the guys flying around on the parachutes when you play Torrey Pines. Sure do.
Funny.
Well, Donald, thank you so much again, man. I mean, this was wonderful. Open invitation anytime you'd like to be on the show. I know you're a busy guy, but we do this like it's kind of on demand right now. That all this, I just come on, turn it on, I can start it up and go. I try to post one show a week. I have not posted since last week because we're still editing Elliott's interview, and then I'm upgrading my gear. So. Also, did we talk about the production company?
No.
So it was pointed out to me that I've invested a quite a bit amount of money in this podcast gear, and that it just sits here most of the day. So what we're going to do is we're going to rent this podcast studio here for $75 an hour. We're also going to rent the gear, like if somebody wants to take it out off site, it's mobile. You can do live broadcast. And then to flip that, I met a girl that does editing that's just incredible at what she does. And when she saw all the gear, she was like, look, we could film commercials. So now we're in the process. We're going to call it Swing Time Media, and we're going to go out and find some customers. Let us do some commercials, some SOP videos, safety videos, anything like that. It's because she's so good. I still have no clue what I'm doing, but I know how to get on camera and sound halfway intelligent sometimes. So we're gonna give it a shot, see where it goes. I think if I get enough pots open, one of them might save the golf business.
Just be careful with that title of Swing Time.
8% of my website hits are looking for a swingers club. 8%. I mean, I don't get a ton of hits on my website, but I thought that was a pretty significant number looking for swingers clubs. I said, hell, should we try swingers night? I mean, 8%, I could use it.
That's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
Yes, sir. Well, again, thank you so much. If I can do anything, one more plug for the book and everything Donald's got working on. It is a great book. If anything, if you don't want to go out and buy it yourself, come borrow it here at Swing Away. It's a great read. I'm about halfway through. I had trouble putting it down tonight. That's why I was a little bit late this morning. I read it into the night and didn't get all of my beauty rest. So I'm going to finish it tonight, and it's just been a great read. Thank you so much for your time, Donald. It's been a pleasure. Stay in touch. Be on the show whenever you want, and best wishes to you.
Good. Appreciate it, buddy. Take care.
Howdy, swingers. Charlie Bolak here. Happy Saturday. It's let's see, getting towards the end of May. I think maybe the 30th here, and some good news here at Swing Away Golf Club. We're growing. I think we found the bottom, we hope, in March. February was a big shock after a busy winter, and we really kind of went into scrambled mode there towards the end of March. Getting into April, we redid our pricing, redid our membership, redid our marketing strategy overall, and we're starting to see some results of that finally. Thank you. So thank you all for joining the journey, be it whether you're watching the golf, whether you're watching the Clubhouse podcast itself, or any of the other stuff we're putting out there, or if you're just coming in and supporting, renting a bay,
We've got some new members. It's man, it's been really exciting. So again, just wanted to start out with that to thank everybody and to invite the folks that haven't had a chance to come on down to check it out. I mean, I truly believe that I have the best setup. Definitely in Central Alabama. I mean, I would put us up against some of the bigger cities too, against Atlanta, Nashville. I mean, you know, we've put some real world-class technology here in Birmingham, Alabama, and people are starting to recognize it and come in. So once again, thank you all. And that's going to kind of lead us into the first topic today in the Clubhouse podcast, and that's supporting local. You know, today's day and time, especially Anna and myself with 3 boys under 6, it's hard. It really is. There's some local restaurants that we both really want to go see that we haven't had a chance yet. There's some really great stuff out there that we want the opportunity to, you know, support. But just, you know, with everything that's going on in the business, Anna's new job, the boys, we just haven't had the opportunity. So, you know, I get it. I understand the struggle. I know how hard it is to get out there. But, you know, as a small business owner local to Birmingham, Alabama, I mean, I'd say I'm local to Homewood. I'd say I'm local to Hoover. You know, we need that support. We need any support you can throw our way, even if it's, you know, just sharing, subscribing, liking some Facebook posts, talking about us. Every little bit helps. And it's, you know, it's like I said earlier, just it's been a complete and absolute journey. You know, it's somebody said to me the other day, opening a business like this is, you know, your first year, you're basically walking alone through the desert. And I felt that. I mean, you know, I've gone through every round of emotion that I thought humanly possible, from, you know, the elation of the first few days where we actually made a break-even number to the first break-even week or month. We haven't gotten to a break-even quarter yet, but hopefully that's coming. So, you know, it's the emotional roller coasters from the highs of closing the loan, getting the construction started, and, you know, just like buying a lottery ticket, convincing yourself that, you know, this is your ticket to the private yacht and everything. And then, you know, getting in the building and being so pleased with everything you have and opening the doors to, you know, crickets pretty much. We had a decent grand opening and you know, started immediately getting people that were coming back. But I think I underestimated the rate at which it would grow and the rate at which it would become self-sufficient. You know, and that's been part of the journey as well, you know, kind of underselling this whole project to Anna as, you know, roses and sunshine, and we get into it, and it's, I will describe my day, what was it, 3 days ago, all this rain in Birmingham is great for me professionally because it brings people into swing away, but it causes struggles personally down to cutting grass. So, you know, I get up early with our kids. Anna, you know, takes a little extra time in the morning to get going. And, you know, she pays it back on the back end. She stays up a little bit later with the kids. So it, you know, it all balances out. But anyway, so my middle son, Teddy, gets up very early. So he was up at 5:30, and I get up again with the kids. And so we'll start getting Leo's stuff ready. And eventually Frank will wake up. You'll hear him on the monitor. So we'll go get him and start acclimating everybody into the chaos of the morning. So up at 5:30 with Teddy, get the boys up. They've been out of school this week, so I think that was the day that Teddy and Leo both came to swing away with me for the day. Somebody picked them up in the afternoon. I worked open to close here at Swing Away. We happened to close early enough that there was still a little bit of sun. It must have been a Monday or Sunday or whatever the circumstance was. We happened to close. There's a little bit of light. And I'm driving home. I thought, wow, I mean, I might have an opportunity to cut grass. So, you know, get in, just immediately throw some clothes on, run out. You know, you're racing the sunset. You know, can I get it all cut? Can I get it blown?
And the answer was no. I ran out of time for blowing. But anyway, you know, you put the lawnmower up, get it cleaned off, and you know, half of you's like, okay, well, you know, let's dinner, bed. Where are we at now? And you know, walk upstairs to the bedtime routine, and you know, take Teddy to shower, help get everybody, you know, set up and ready for bed. You know, and then Anna and I look at each other after Teddy gets down. We get him down, and we look at the kitchen. The kitchen's just an absolute wreck. So, you know, she and I tag team the kitchen, and it's just, you know, it's 10 o'clock at night at this point, and you know, all you can do is you know, get set up for the next day, get cleaned up, rest, relax, repeat. Rest, relax, rinse, repeat. I like it. And that's just the life, you know, that we've chosen. Well, the life that I chose for us in a way. Kind of, you know, undersold it to Anna that it was going to be a lot more fun. Not that we're not having fun. I mean, there are absolutely fun times, but you know, just that snapshot of a day. What was that? 18 hours. You know, that's the normal day in the life. Now. Good news, that being said, you know, I'm month 12 in my little desert here, and we are starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel. So we are proud and happy to announce that Jamal Brooks has joined the team here at Swing Away, and we've done. Howdy Swingers, Charlie Bolak here, welcoming our newest member of the Swing Away family, Jamal Brooks, local Bessemer product, D1 athlete, and this son of a gun whacks the hell out of a ball. Almost puts a hole in my screen every time he hits here.
That's why I have to work here now.
To pay off the hole in the screen back there. Yeah. That's right, absolutely. So everybody, Jamal is going to be here. It's every Friday, every other Thursday, and any other time we can talk him out of whatever he does on his free time, maybe working out. Look at him. All right, so Jamal, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then tell us what attracted you to golf first of all, and tell us about, you know, some of the experiences we've had here together.
Yeah, again, man, thanks for, you know, having me, being here. So again, I'm Jamal Brooks. I'm originally from Bessemer, Alabama. Bessemer City High School product, honor student. I like to call myself a scholar baller. And so went to the University of Missouri for undergrad. There I got my bachelor's degree in sport management with a minor in business. Wasn't the first option, but that's what we left with.
That's where we went.
That's where we went.
I had a few second options myself.
Then COVID gave me extra year eligibility, so I did a grad year at South Alabama. That's where I got my MBA. I had a phenomenal football season that year. Ended up getting picked up by the Bears. Spent some time out there, officially finished my MBA. And then from there, I played a year in the XFL. Now, it was that weird time in between getting released from Chicago. I had a birthday XFL that kind of got me into golf. You know, I tell people all the time, my dad had some clubs at the house. I've always kind of been interested in it, especially like younger, you know, hearing about Tiger and just kind of guys growing up, but never really had like a desire to go out there and play until I think it was like 22nd birthday, got released. I was home. There was this girl, of course.
Always a girl.
There was always a girl. There was this girl that she worked out at the RTJ. She was like, hey, just come hit. And so I went out there, and it was oddly relaxing. You know, something new. Obviously playing pro sports, you kind of get into this mindset of, you know, having to master your craft no matter what it is.
And just, the drive to be
You
good,
know,
and then not
yeah.
understanding why you're not good at something. That's yes. I was never a pro athlete, but I had that kind of drive because I was a good athlete. I was a natural athlete. I just never had the drive to work as hard.
You're an entrepreneur, right? And so
now,
but yeah, you know what I mean? Like, being an entrepreneur is the same mindset. It's the same.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Core, you know, focus, niche, you know, ideas.
It's got to be that drive, that
you
type
have
of
to,
go,
right?
yeah.
And so, that's what kind of got me into golf. Then I got picked up in the XFL, and then I got into a serious four-wheel accident.
Oh.
And so, Yeah, I almost lost my life, didn't, thankful for just
absolutely.
to be here,
Yeah.
right?
Make you look at things differently.
It does. And so from there, once I was cleared to kind of return to play, golf was and has been the only thing that, again, gives me that competitive drive, that peace, that calm, that just go out there and have fun mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. And you get into a zone sometimes, especially playing with yourself on the sim. I do. Where it's almost like that runner's high. How people would describe that. And it's a workout thing. I don't know if you, athletes have something they call it, but
no. That's exactly what it is. And I'm developing that. The more I play, and I know we've had some run-ins here. You told me to get into that, and I will. The more I play, right, and it was after I started coming in here, getting a little bit better, I go out, outside, and it's like, okay, like, you get into that zone. You find your swing. I'm able to kind of recall some of the things that felt good in here. Okay, this is how the club face is coming off. I'm starting to, be able to pick up on stuff, and so it's definitely, let's just, instead of runner's high, athlete's high.
Right? Right.
It's definitely an athlete's high where you get in the zone. And so, just kind of coming back to some of the moments in here, I remember, again, it's always a girl. I wanted to go play one day. It was getting late. So there was a girl on this side of town that I was coming to see. And she was like, well, there is a simulator place over here on Lakeshore.
I remember it. I remember that night.
And I'm like, no, there's not. She was like, yeah, it is. Of course, by this time, I call myself into golf. So I'm like, nah, I think I know all the golf sim places around. Yeah. She's like, no, it is. So, of course, I'm driving up Lakeshore.
There it is.
And I'm like, no.
I don't think we had been open a month at that point. We were just unpacking boxes and getting going.
Yeah, and so when I remember I pulled up, and I actually, you were out there, I think, taking out trash or something like that, and I pulled up and I sat in the car. I'm like, man, I really don't know. Like, you hadn't had all the, again, you were still open. You hadn't had the open light up.
Oh, no, we didn't have an open sign at that point.
You know what I mean? It was fresh, and so I sat, and then, I was like, dang, I don't know. And I was on the phone with her. She was like, just go pull on the door.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. But before I could even pull on the door, you were,
and there,
walking up.
So, I remember that. And then you were like, you for some reason said you had something to do. You weren't going to stay. You just want to look around. Yeah. I convinced you to stay. I think
I did. I'm like, I said, you're closed. I'll leave. That kind of that awkward, like, Yeah, but you got me to stay, man. I think I stayed here maybe 6 hours.
Yeah, that was
that's probably an exaggeration. Probably it was definitely a good 3 to 4 hours.
Well, and you were probably my first paying customer in days, so I was stoked.
But no, we talked. I learned a lot just about you. Again, you're a hometown guy. You're from here. Learning a lot again. Me personally having that entrepreneurial drive, desire, relating to you there, obviously relating on golf, right? But just kind of hearing your process and why you wanted to open this place, and your kind of inner self wanting this to work. And I remember leaving here that night. I'm like, man, I can't wait to go back. And I think we kind of talked about that, and we started bouncing marketing ideas.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And TikTok. You told me early on to get on TikTok, and I said, well, I've got a social media person. I'm not. We're not really going that way. And we hesitated and got into a fairly bad situation. And what is it? About 2 months ago, I started really
right. You were telling me you just started
Instagram,
posting, and so
and it's cross your fingers. We're picking up month over month, and I think we're going to finish this month 30 to 40% over last month, which was up 25 over the month before. So it's when you get that low, though, it's not that big of a but it's still it's great. We had some great times. I'm stoked for the times we're going to have coming up. I'm excited. Come play some golf with Jamal. The guy hits it so far. Just watch how far he hits the ball. It's amazing.
I'm still a novice, but
don't get behind the screen when he hits.
No, don't do that. But yeah, come on out. I'm excited to meet everyone. Again, if you've been here before, you already know the environment that it is here, and so I'm just here to help kind of push that forward. Not doing anything but the ordinary things in an extraordinary way. Right? So
that's what we do. That's what. Yeah. One thing builds on another, every little step on to the next. Well, Jamal, I'm stoked. Hopefully everybody else is stoked. I've cut myself out of the picture here, so let's see if I can. There we go. All right. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be right back, and come see Jamal in here.
Thanks so much.
Jamal is going to work every other Thursday, every Friday. We've still got Alex. Alex is going to move to Wednesdays. So we have Wednesdays covered hopefully every Wednesday, or as many Wednesdays as Alex can. Thursday, we've got Jamal every other Thursday. And then every other Thursday, a kid named Mo. Mo, I apologize, I don't even know your last name at this point, but I know you have joined the team, and hopefully today will be your first day this afternoon. So when you get in here, we'll do a little interview segment with you. We'll cut it into this, and man, I'm so stoked to have 3 guys with me in this journey. Alex has been with us 1 day a week, pretty much from the beginning, and that's been my only day off consistently every week. So big, huge thanks to Alex. Thanks for sticking around and moving to Wednesday when Thursdays didn't work out for you anymore. It's going to be so great to have some help around here. Anna and I were already talking this morning about possibly looking at upgrading the cocktail menu and possibly our food menu if we start to get this summer pop that we're really hoping to get. We're going to kind of reintroduce the menu, maybe do a summertime menu, and just see kind of where it goes. This is our first year. We don't know what people are going to do when it's 102 and humid and yucky outside. We hope they're going to come to Swing Away, but we don't know yet. So once we start to see some of that, we will have some big things working here at Swing Away Golf Club. Again, just want to say thank you to everybody who supported us along the way. Please don't take this as an opportunity to take your foot off the gas, though. We got, we're starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel, but we got a long way to go still. So please keep pushing with us, for us, together, however you want to think of it. Welcome Jamal and Mo, and welcome back. Not back. He never went anyway. Maybe took a week off. But Alex, thanks to the team, to the crew we're going to have here. Looking forward to a excellent summer. And that kind of concludes our business topic. Kind of giving you a bit of a look behind the scenes at the overall picture of Swing Away Golf Club. We're not where we want to be, but we're growing, and that's at this point that's what's important to us. Thanks again to everybody. All right, that's going to roll us right into our parenthood segment. So we've kind of been following this journey with Teddy and kind of teaching him to behave as a normal human being in society, as opposed to the little wildlings that you have before they understand the rules that society places on a person before they can enter society and the rules about which they can operate in society. And as somebody who kind of always bucked those rules a little bit, now having to teach it from the other side, I feel like I'm doing some learning as well. So, a particular instance that sticks out is Teddy's newfound love for everything food not prepared at home. Most recently, with them being out of school and being here with me up at Swing Away Golf Club, there's a Subway a couple doors down, and Teddy has just absolutely decided he loves ham and cheese sandwiches. So even though we have the ham and cheese here, we're fully capable of making an excellent sandwich. Something about the Subway experience to a 4.5-year-old just blows anything we could do out of the water. So that's been fun. We actually let him go in for the first time by himself. Now I'm standing at the door, swing away, watching him walk 30 feet over to the entrance of Subway, where I can still see him when he's inside. But he loves it. I was a thrill for him. It was his first, real, as he would say, big boy experience. And it's so fun as a parent being able to, curate these experiences for your children. And it's really kind of made me think back to when I was that age. I don't know if I have any memories of being exactly 4, but I can remember, there was a Wendy's and a Hardee's on our way home from school, or when my mother would pick me up, and a day that we got to stop at that Wendy's or that Hardee's, or there might have even been an Arby's or something like that. Those days were the days that stick out in your memory as some of the best days, even though, looking back, it's, not the best overall meal choice, but it brought so much joy. And now seeing it from the other side, I understand how much joy my mother must have had, seeing my face light up at getting in the Wendy's drive-thru. So, that's fun experiences. Enjoy those times with your kids while you have them. And it doesn't take much. I told a story the other day of all these toys we have at the house, but the kids love a box or a thing of yarn. I think that's the big picture that sometimes we miss when we're wrapped up in everything is, we can give you all the best toys in the world, but you and me playing together with this ball of yarn is more fun. And that, if you stop to think about it, that makes sense. That's my problem, is I need more and more to stop and think about these things rather than living so wrapped up in all the external factors. So there's your advice for the day as far as parenthood. And then again, don't use this or take it to the bank. I'm not a particularly good parent anyway. I try very hard though, because I have great kids. But thanks again. We'll roll on into our golf improvement topic. And, I think this is probably the second or third time we've talked about this. I don't do it, but I know the value is there. If we could play every round, not for a score, but to work on a particular item, it immediately increases your enjoyment of the game. It increases the fulfillment you get out of it. And it ultimately will increase or decrease your overall scores, if you will. Putting yourself in these situations and working on particular shots, like right now, I have never been a high ball hitter. I've always been kind of a low line drive guy, and that's just been my golf game. And I've learned over the years how to kind of adapt to it rather than trying to fix the underlying issue, which is the fact that I can't stop a ball on a green because I don't hit a ball high enough. So now that I've gotten into the sims and I get all this data, I can work on these and talk to people, read tips. Hey, what can I do as far as my setup? Getting back, getting my shoulder under, and there's all these things. And with the real-time results on the simulators, I have really been able to dial in my game in a much more efficient manner because I see what I'm doing to try to affect the change. I get to immediately measure the results of those change, and then I can work on the practice repetition part of making the actual change to my golf game. And look, that's going to about do it for our live here. We're going to loop some of our golf here. I think this is TPC Potomac, maybe. Let's see. Oh, Victoria National Golf Club. And again, I don't even think the sound is going to come through on here. But these lives, when they stay on, it just brings more visibility to us. So again, thank you all for joining the Clubhouse. We'll get this edited down into a show, get it released hopefully in the next 7 or so days. And that's about it. In the meantime, keep coming in to Swing Away. Thank you for joining.